Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Hokage, forged into a god, gifted sword at the beginning white Fang. Chapter 41. Onoki frowned and said, "Let's continue to inquire. It's best to find out the abilities of those weapons and Uchiha Naraku's specific hobbies and habits. Oh, by the way, add a reward for Uchiha Naraku, just 35 million. It's not enough. Increase it to 7,000 won liang." Yes. Anbu disappeared into Tsuchikage's office in an instant. Chiyo's men on the other side also found similar information, but Chiyo is not as wealthy as Tsuchikage in Tsunade village and as rich as Iwagakure village. She can only let her men continue to explore. However, Chiyo has made up her mind. As long as the balance of Konoha is affected by the ninja sword made by Uchiha Naraku, she will not sit still and wait for death. As soon as Naoki arrived at the battlefield, he saw his teacher Orochimaru. "Teacher, I'm here." Orochimaru looked at his enthusiastic disciple Naoki. The depression due to killing too many people in recent days had been relieved to a certain extent, so he smiled and said to Naoki, "You can just follow me and follow my command. I will explain to you the precautions on the battlefield." The next day, there happened to be a sneak attack on Iwa ninja in Konoha. Konoha and Iwagakure fought back and forth. In the process, Iwagakure did not completely lose his fighting spirit, but continued to fight with Konoha's people on the spot. In the process, the rope tree also made use of the powerful physique from the Senju clan and the evil ghost in the form of a sword to kill the Chunin opponent in front of him. Gradually, Iwa ninja began to lose to Konoha. After all, Konoha came with a sneak attack. As the Iwa ninja retreated, Orochimaru ordered his troops to pursue them. Shungshu took the lead and rushed to the front of the entire army. Orochimaru saw his disciple being so brave and praised in his heart. "Rose tree. The enemy's morale has been overwhelmed." The rope tree also rushed forward confidently. Suddenly, the rope tree noticed that his foot seemed to have stepped on the detonating talisman. Now Shu directly used the last moment to shout in his heart, "The evil ghost is haunting me." The explosion quickly covered Rushu's whole body, and the powerful impact even made Chunin next to him sit down on the ground. Orochimaru also stared blankly at the explosion scene, and suddenly felt that human beings are really fragile. The enemy's morale has obviously been suppressed, and the enemy has obviously started to flee. Before Orochimaru could finish lamenting the fragility of human beings, an armored giant appeared in the position of the rope tree and wrapped the rope tree in the middle. This powerful aura attracted the attention of the Konoha ninja who was chasing the enemy and the Iwa ninja who was running back. Gradually, as the armor hugged the rope tree, the armor's mask cracked open, and the flesh inside gradually turned into Tyrant's ferocious mouth. The last thing that appeared on the spot was the rope tree that had completed its transformation without any damage. At this time, the rope tree was covered with handsome armor, and there was a green gem between the armor's eyebrows that emitted a faint green light. Roshu also held a spear with a particularly long spearhead in his hand. Orochimaru looked at this scene and smiled again, and ordered, "Continue the pursuit." Now Shu also touched his head. He almost thought he was going to be blown to death, but he didn't expect that the armor's transformation process could actually provide a certain degree of protection. It seemed that he should learn to transform in advance in the future. Naoki also hurriedly used his spear to continuously thrust at the enemy, killing each of the rock ninja Chunin on the spot. These rock ninja Chunin also resisted, and if it was a large-scale attack, they were all dodged by the rope tree. However, small and intensive attacks cannot break the defense of the rope tree armor at all. These rock ninja Chunin could only be killed one by the unreasonable rope tree, and the rope tree was just like the old general on the stage, with flags all over his body, but he became more and more brave as he fought. Soon, the behavior of the rope tree attracted the attention of the rock ninja jonin. This rock ninja jonin wanted to cover for his men. Directly form the seal to use the earth-style Shantu jutsu. In an instant, two huge hemispheres made of earth sandwiched the rope tree bag. Rope tree can only use its arms to hold up the huge hemispheres on the left and right sides. The Iwa ninja jonin was almost scared out of his eyes when he saw this scene. This ninjutsu is not something that no one can crack, but it is the first time in his life that he can directly use his body to withstand it. This situation is as if someone saw Captain America using the power of his arms to pull the helicopter. He has never seen such an operation. As for ninjutsu, the mountain and earth technique, chakra is not only required to activate it, but also to maintain this state. Iwa Ninja Jonin saw that this level of mountain soil could not kill the rope tree, so he directly increased the chakra. As the Iwa Ninja chakra supply expanded, the mountain soil also slowly became larger. At the same time, the two earth hemispheres brought the pressure on the rope tree is also increasing. The rope tree also provided chakra and physical strength to the armor crazily, using both arms to hold back the squeeze of the earth hemisphere with its own strength and the strength of the armor. But as the power on Tubin's ball became stronger and stronger, the armor on the rope tree's arm also cracked into pieces. Gradually, the Iwa ninja saw Orochimaru's rapidly approaching figure. He knew that he was doomed, so he directly used all his chakra for the mountain and earth jutsu. But no matter how he increased the strength of the mountain and earth jutsu, the rope tree in the middle of the mountain and earth jutsu was as difficult to crush as Rupert's tears, until he was killed by Orochimaru using Kurichimanji. After the death of Iwa ninja, the mountain earth jutsu no longer squeezed, and the rope tree in the middle of the earth ball finally escaped, breathing heavily. At this time, the surrounding Iwa ninja had already fled, and Orochimaru immediately announced to stop the pursuit. The surviving Konoha ninjas on the battlefield also shouted victory. They shouted, "Long live Orochimaru," and some even shouted, "Long live the rope tree." In this battle, the rope tree used its magical eye-catching ability to attract a large amount of damage from the enemy, and also killed a large number of local chunin. In the final stage, it also resisted the mountain and soil technique that humans could hardly resist. After Naoki released the transformation, he said to Orochimaru, "Teacher, we are victorious." Orochimaru could only shake his head at this. At the same time, Nakaku, who was having fun outside the classroom, suddenly saw the system prompt and immediately found a quiet place and chose to accept it. Bite. The rope tree masters the A-level weapon, Evil Haunting, at the middle level, and the talent is copied and activated. The host obtains the physique of the junior Senju clan. Nakaku suddenly felt as if a powerful force was gushing out of his entire body. The force seemed to burst his body, but it did not make him feel any pain. Instead, it made him feel very comfortable. A powerful chakra emerged from Naraku's body, and his eyes suddenly opened, with excitement flashing in his eyes. At the same time, he felt that his body suddenly felt very comfortable, so good that he almost moaned. It feels like all the cells in the body have been activated, full of vitality and vitality. At the same time, Naraku's Sharingan also opened automatically, and the Magatama inside began to rotate crazily. Eventually, the Sharingan in Naraku's eye socket turned into 3 Magatama in his right eye and double Magatama in his left eye. After calming down, Nakaku decided to open the system panel for a long time to take a look at the recent changes in his strength. System membership level, Junior. Name, Uchiha Nakaku. Age, 9 years old, 80 years old. Chakra attributes, Fire, Water, New Earth, New Wind, New Thunder, New Yin, Yang. Sharingan, single Magatama right pointing arrow 3 Magatama in the right eye, double Magatama in the left eye. Body, B+ right pointing arrow A. Fine, B+ right pointing arrow A. Chakra, 2 cards right pointing arrow 10 cards card, Konoha Jonin Kakashi's chakra amount. Chakra control ability, medium. Ninjutsu, clone technique elementary right pointing arrow intermediate. Transformation technique elementary right pointing arrow intermediate, standing technique elementary right pointing arrow intermediate, fire style great fireball technique elementary right pointing arrow intermediate, mastery psychic technique triple Rashomon, advanced mastery of Hatake sword technique, fire style how fire extinguishing elementary right pointing arrow intermediate, psychic technique reincarnation of the earth bad master, Baki no technique bad mastery, shadow clone technique basic right pointing arrow intermediate. Taijutsu, Uchiha Fluid Technique Intermediate. Genjutsu, Magic Narakumi no Jutsu Intermediate. Advanced Weapons, Kurichimanji Master. Orochimaru Advanced Master Water Dragon Sword Master. Hatake Sakumo Advanced Master Haunted Demon Master. Nawaki Intermediate Master March of the Dead Hakubo Master. Shimuraden Hidden Beginner Master One-Shot Kill Murasama Uchiha Scarlet Beginner Master. Evaluation. Your strength has reached the level of Jonin, and you can even go head-to-head with some elite Jonin. Your panel value has actually surpassed the vast majority of elite jonin, but your understanding and application of combat are still there. Not enough, but in the current ninja world, you have a certain ability to protect yourself. Naraku looked at his own panel with a sense of accomplishment. It had only been half a year since he had awakened the blacksmith system, and now he already had the combat power of jonin. Now I have obtained all the regular attributes of chakra, and I also have the blood of the Senju and Uchiha clan. Naraku's next goal to become stronger is to focus on Mangekyo Sharingan and new weapon forging. After all, the blood of Uchiha's family is still there. He felt that a Mangekyo Sharingan could be created even if it was stacked. In addition, the Senju, Uzumaki, Kagaya, and Hyuga clans could not be left behind. If you have the chance, keep adding more and keep evolving your bloodline. I think he will eventually be more like Otsutsuki than Sage of Six Paths. However, Naraku also knew his shortcoming, which was that he had too little fighting experience between ninjas. Although there is an old Chinese saying that when you are poor, you use tactics to intersperse, when you are rich, you use firepower to cover. But firepower coverage also requires brains. Look at Otsutsuki Kagaya coming to the ninja world after devouring Uchiha Madara. As a result, she held a panel stronger than Uchiha Madara, and the fight was terrible. Naraku suspected that a random chunin from the battlefield would have a stronger sense of combat than him. Naraku felt that Otsutsuki Kagaya was simply a natural idiot. At this time, a certain fool who was sleeping in the moon sneezed. Otsutsuki Kagaya looked at the ninja world and said, "I will definitely come back." After Orochimaru completed the final work of the war, he called the rope tree in front of him. At this time, Naoshu was still in the joy of victory, but looking at the teacher's serious eyes, Naoshu's smile finally calmed down. According to Shungshu's experience, most teachers indicate that they need to listen carefully to their teachings. Orochimaru said to Naoshu seriously, "Naoshu, you made great contributions in this battle. You killed more chunin on the battlefield this time than I did." Naoshu touched his head and smiled sheepishly. "I'm not that powerful, mainly because of the help of the evil haunted, forged by Master Naraku." Orochimaru did not laugh. "There are good weapons that should be used. Only the physique of the Senju family and your advanced matching can bring such good effects, which is also part of your strength. But you lack too much common sense in combat, from stepping on the detonating talisman at the beginning to being hit by the mountain and earth technique later on. Even a ninja school should have taught you about observing the landing point of the detonating talisman. Even if you step on it, your first reaction should still be taught in a ninja school. It can only be said that fortunately, the transformation process of being haunted by evil spirits also has certain protective capabilities, otherwise you would either die suddenly or retire early. In the latter mountain earth technique, you use both arms to directly hit this ninjutsu. You must know that ninjutsu is not even a fast break ninjutsu. It is often used to restrain enemies and deal with large psychic beasts. Indeed, you relied on your armor to survive the crisis safely, but you relied on the power of the Taigu to resist an enemy's attack that you could easily avoid. If you encounter stronger enemies later, such as lava style or dust style, can you still resist with your armor? The result of this battle is very good. As your teacher, I still think you failed. In a way you don't feel like a ninja at all, but like the samurai. You just stay in the rear, and I won't assign you other tasks until you get rid of these low-level mistakes." After saying this, Orochimaru left, leaving Natsuki alone in the tent to think. Not long after, Shungshu received his promotion notice, and at this time he officially became a squad leader of the logistics force. Orochimaru didn't let the rope tree go to the rear just to make him reflect, but because it was too strong and easy to break. Especially on the battlefield, Shungshu's special identity always brings him some special dangers. Naoshu, who was transferred to the rear, didn't know that the previous battle had completely made him famous. Because some rock ninjas saw the transformation process of the rope tree, and the rope tree was indestructible after wearing armor, it was directly immune to B-level genin spell attacks. So the rope tree was nicknamed Iron Ghost. After listening to the report from his subordinates, Onoki on the other side rubbed his head again. There were a lot of bugs in Konoha recently. Even if it's a local friction, Iwagakure can't keep losing. Do you know the specific identity of the Iron Ghost this time? And is that armor forged by Uchiha Naraku? Onoki asked his men again. Anbu replied. The Iron Ghost should be the Senju rope tree of Konoha's wealthy Senju clan. This person is the grandson of first Hokage Senju Hashirama. As for the armor, we can only speculate that it is most likely forged by Uchiha Naraku. Onoki couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he heard the identity of Naoki. Senju Hashirama is the god of the ninja world, and he deserves this title both for his strength and his mind. The Senju rope tree in front of him also started to stand out at a young age, and he was suddenly a little worried. Put the Senju rope tree on the black market with a reward of 50 million taels, and the Senju rope tree's weapons will have a reward of 20 million taels. Onoki issued the final order. After Anbu left the office, Onoki thought about the lack of young people in his village who could carry the tripod. He looked at the village outside the window and sighed, God is so unfair. The powerful young generation of Konoha are just like pups. The previous Uchiha Naraku has not been solved yet, and now there is another Senju rope tree. It is precisely because of this that even though Konoha has an atmosphere of infighting among the strongest ninjas, it can still steadily suppress any ninja village in the ninja world. The war has not stopped, and the flames of war are burning more and more intensely on the soil of the country of rain. At this time, in a rain country war zone, 2 Konoha Chunin were on a mission. However, due to the fierce fighting for several days, their physical strength had been exhausted and their rations had long been eaten. Facing hunger and exhaustion, the 2 decided to go nearby to find food to sustain their lives. The 2 came to a small wooden house and had a feast, and the Nagato family lived in this wooden house. At this time, in order to avoid the unknown intruder, Nagato's parents took Nagato and hid in a corner. When the 2 Konoha Chunin came here, they didn't know there was anyone else in the house. Nagato's father told Nagato not to make a sound and just leave quietly. But Nagato was still young, and his heart was full of fear and anxiety. At this moment, Nagato accidentally knocked over a vase, making a crisp sound. This sound alerted the 2 Konoha Chunin, and they quickly rushed to the next room, determined not to let go of any possible enemy. When they entered the room, the dark atmosphere made them nervous. One of the Chunin fought with Nagato's father, and the other Chunin waved the kunai in his hand without hesitation and stabbed Nagato's mother. Nagato's mother soon fell in front of Nagato, and Nagato's father shouted, "Nagato, run! Run!" Nagato's father was still trying to protect his family, but eventually fell into a pool of blood. The 2 Konoha Chunin who had calmed down in the back looked through the light and realized how wrong they had just been. He actually killed civilians as enemies. And Nagato witnessed his parents dying tragically in front of him, and his heart was filled with endless sadness and fear. The 2 Konoha Chunin felt so guilty that they apologized to Nagato for mistakenly thinking his parents were enemies. Despite this, Nagato still could not accept this reality. He stared at the blood-soaked scene with wide eyes, a face full of horror, and his body was shaking. With a flash of lightning, Nagato saw the Konoha forehead protectors on their heads. Nagato, who had been implanted with the Rinnegan Eye by Uchiha Madara for a long time, could not hold back his fear and directly stimulated a little power of the Rinnegan Eye. The power of the Rinnegan Eye directly killed 2 Konoha ninjas. Nagato also fainted. At this time, in an unknown underground place, the white-haired Konoha dance king Uchiha Madara was sitting on a chair staring at Sharingan. Baiju Fei said, "Madara-sama, Nagato has inspired the power of the Rinnegan. And Nagato's parents are dead. Do we need to continue to monitor their family in the future?" Uchiha Madara glanced at Afei and said, "Continue to monitor, is there any interesting news outside recently?" Baiju Afei immediately stood up and said, "Master Madara, recently a guy named Uchiha Naraku came out of the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Naraku seems to have awakened a new blood inheritance limit and can continue to forge powerful weapons. Before, he forged a weapon that was as long as a weapon that will bleed continuously if it cuts the enemy." Uchiha Madara looked at Baiju Fei and laughed. The Uchiha clan is getting worse and worse, and they actually rely on other blood successors to become famous. And they still rely on forging. What use can this kind of weapon be used for? It's all in vain if you can't kill anyone. Sharingan is the best weapon. Ah Fei suddenly continued. He also forged a powerful armor that can be immune to ninjutsu below B level. He gave this armor to the Senju rope tree. There are also 2 ninja swords. Oh, they like to call it Taigu. One of the ninja swords is covered with powerful poison, and it is said that if it touches it, it will kill. The other one can control the corpse of the person killed by this weapon. Madara-sama, you are so powerful. You must be able to resist the poison of that ninja sword. When Afei was still feeling proud that he had rarely flattered Madara-sama, he didn't even notice the veins on Uchiha's head bulging out. At this time, Uchiha Madara was constantly persuading himself that this white Zetsu was special and it was best not to kill him. Uchiha Madara was silent for a while and said, "Let's finish talking later. Let's talk about the important things first. These things are not worth mentioning in front of Uchiha's Mangekyo Sharingan." He also gave the armor to the Senju clan. "Humph, Naraku kid, you are the most, don't regret it." Madara was angry and a little emotional about the bond between Naraku and Naoki. "It seems that if you are as naive as I was, you will definitely suffer." As for experimenting with poison, Uchiha Madara completely ignored Afei's suggestion. After all, there are still a lot of weird things in the ninja world, and even he is not sure about some things. Afei also bowed deeply and said, "Master Madara, I will definitely work hard in the future. But can you tell me what it feels like to have a bowel movement? I see that you haven't had a bowel movement in the past few days." Hearing this, Uchiha Madara couldn't bear it anymore. Even though he usually relies on Geto statue to maintain his life, he still has bowel movements occasionally. When he thought that when he was defecating, there would be a Baiju peeping obscenely, or maybe a group of Baiju. Uchiha Madara kicked Afei, and Afei was directly embedded in the underground wall. Uchiha Madara also explained, "From now on, we will focus on protecting Nagato and continue to monitor Uchiha Naraku more." While trying to pull out his lower body, Afei said, "Okay Madara-sama. But can you tell me what it feels like to have a bowel movement?" Uchiha Madara walked out of the room quickly. He didn't want to argue with a moron. Kakuzu, a legendary bounty hunter in the black market who had fought and survived the first Hokage, a business expert, and a money-saving fighter, was flipping through the bounty catalog in the black market. When he saw that there were 2 more bounties on the bounty catalog, each with a bounty of 7. "When I was a kid with 10 million tails, my eyes suddenly lit up." Kakuzu quickly opened the bounties on Naraku and Naoki. Uchiha Naraku, a member of the Uchiha clan, 9 years old, fighting power jonin, professional blacksmith. The price of being captured alive is negotiable, and you can get 70 million taels if you kill him. He lives in Konoha and the Uchiha clan area all year round. He rarely goes out. Senju Rope Tree, a member of the Senju clan, 13 years old, with fighting power of about jonin, and possesses a long sword that can be transformed into armor. He is in the Konoha camp on the battlefield of the Rain Country. Senju Rope Tree has a head of 50 million ryo, and can be transformed into armor. Long sword 20 million taels. After Kakuzu carefully read the specific information of the 2 people, he thought that a well-informed person like him felt magical about Uchiha Naraku, a 9-year-old child who grew almost 1.8 meters tall. That 13-year-old Senju Rope Tree, he looks 4 or 5 years younger than Naraku. However, he gave up after thinking about it for a while and gave up on solving Uchiha Naraku. Although Uchiha Naraku had no fighting ability, this guy usually stayed in Konoha and was a member of the Uchiha clan and didn't like to go out. He is somewhat confident in his own strength, but he doesn't want to die. The other Senju Rope Tree is much simpler. After all, it is normal for people to die on the battlefield, but if Senju Rope Tree stays in the ninja army, he has no chance. But he thought of the small print on the Senju Rope Tree bounty order, "If you need help, go to the black market of Earth Country," and he knew it was a bounty under Iwagakure even if he thought about it with his buttocks. Maybe looking for Iwagakure can allow them to fight against Konoha's army, and he can complete a 1v1 with Nezuki. Thinking of this, Kakuzu immediately turned around and left the black market. Naraku has been living a very happy life recently, practicing sword skills and forging every day. After getting enough rest, Naraku still thought about forging the dimensional phalanx Shangri-La, even though the special dangerous species might escape during the forging process. But as long as Murasama is fast enough, it should be able to be solved. Initially, he was worried that Uchiha's strength was not enough, but later he thought that Uchiha's strength was not enough, so he was there. He can completely use Murasama and Hitaki knife skills to directly kill special dangerous species with one knife. And Naraku, who has the passive power of weapon kingship, does not have to worry about not being able to master the weapons he forged. It can be said that the power of weapon kingship can directly turn these proud weapons into the shape of Naraku. The only thing missing now is that he wants the entire barriers like the 4 purple flame formation to be a guarantee. So he found Uchiha, who was basking in the sun. Great Elder, I want you to give me 4 ninjas who know sealing techniques to help me use the 4 purple flame formation. Uchiha Min suddenly became energetic and said, you have finally exposed your ambition. Are you planning to attack the Patriarch's mansion at night tonight? Naraku looked at the little old man with black lines on his head and said, no. Uchiha pretended to be surprised. Is it possible that you are planning to attack Hokage's office at night? Naraku didn't want to joke anymore and said, yeah, hurry up and arrange a few close followers for me. I'm going to train them well. It's up to us to rebuild the glory of the Uchiha clan in the future. Naraku looked at the 4 Uchiha in front of him, and always felt that the 4 people in front of him were very similar. Later he learned that these 4 people were all cousins, and their names were Uchiha plus New, Uchiha plus Full, Uchiha plushie, and Uchiha plus Zero. Naraku was still ready to give these 4 people a lecture. You 4 are the first batch of followers to follow me. If you follow me for a long time, you will find that I pay attention to 3 things, that is fairness. Fairness. It's still fair. Naraku looked at the 4 people in front of him and did not ask him why the 3 things were the same. He went on to say, my fairness means that if you do well, you will be rewarded, and if you do poorly, you will be punished. The person who pays more will get the reward. More. Those who pay less get relatively less. Now I have a very important thing that I need your help with. I will cast the 4 purple flame formation for me outside the tribe later. No matter what happens, don't open it unless I ask for it. Do you understand? The 4 people also nodded quickly. In the Konoha Grove, in the 4 purple flame formation, Naraku holds Murasama in his hand and is using the thunder attribute chakra to continuously stimulate his body. The Sharingan is also opened, locking it 3 meters in front, ready to wait for special dangerous species. The second he comes out, he uses Thunder Breath and Thunderbolt Flash. Actually it is the Hitaki sword technique, drawing the sword and slashing. Naraku secretly counted down in his heart, 3, 2, 1. After Naraku released the special dangerous kind of sky, he didn't look at it and directly swung the knife in front of him with all his strength. The special danger Zangong Kong had just arrived in the ninja world, and before he took the first breath of air, he was split open by Naraku's knife. Afterwards, the poison from Murasama instantly covered its body, creating a special dangerous species, Kongzu. Only then did Naraku have time to see what this special dangerous species looked like, which looked a bit like an enlarged version of a pangolin. Naraku saw that there was no space stone in the hand of the special dangerous species Sora, and he was happy and a little disappointed at the same time. Originally, he was thinking about whether he could get another space stone from the dangerous species. Not caring about the disappointment, Naraku asked the team of 4 to quickly open the 4 purple flame formation and quickly ran back to the forging room with the body of the dangerous species. Then Naraku took out the space stone, 10 parts of Uchiha steel, and 1 kilogram of fine iron. After that, it is customary to use the shadow clone technique to create several clones. The main body is slowly carving a curse mark on the dangerous species. Clone number 1 is in the fused Aurea steel metal. Clone number 2 deals with fine iron. After carving the curse seal, Naraku chanted the spell, and the entire dangerous species slowly turned into liquid. Naraku then integrated the liquid into the space stone, and the space stone became darker. Later, Naraku covered the surface with the melted Uchiha steel. After carving some curse seals, the molten iron was then covered on the surface. Finally, the appearance of the new Taigu was optimized to a certain extent. Naraku made some optimizations based on the appearance of some transformers. Finally, the new Taigu dimensional phalanx Shangri-La is completed. Bite. Congratulations to the blacksmith for forging an A-level weapon, dimensional phalanx Shangri-La. Naraku checked the attributes of this imperial weapon. Dimensional phalanx Shangri-La A-level space movement Taigu. This taigu uses extremely fresh biological materials and uses a large number of precious materials: space stone, Uchiha steel, orangutan crimson sand iron, orangutan crimson ore, refined iron. During the forging process, secret techniques unique to space-type taigu were used. It took a day to forge. It finally reached a level that slightly surpassed the original weapon. This imperial tool is in the shape of a rhombus with a space stone inlaid in the middle. It has sturdiness properties and has a strong ability to conduct chakra. Skills. 1. It can move the target to the marked position instantly, but it requires huge energy consumption and cannot be activated continuously. It can be used continuously if the energy consumption is low. 2. Strengthen the input of chakra. After forging the dimensional phalanx Shangri-La, Naraku couldn't wait to walk out of the forging room and start experimenting. He first marked a small position. Naraku watched the small Tai Chi mark in front of him slowly disappear, and he knew that he had successfully marked it. Naraku moved away from his marked location, and then Naraku's figure flashed and suddenly appeared at the location he had just marked. Naraku sensed the consumption just now, which was about 0.1 calories, which meant that his chakra could be used to move that distance 100 times without recovering. Naraku then tried a shorter movement distance, and found that the consumption of chakra did not decrease. After that, Naraku placed the dimensional phalanx Shangri-La on his chest. He had specially designed a small device when forging it before. The dimensional square Shangri-La can be firmly placed on the chest. After all, a ninja's hands are still very important. They need both hands whether they are forming seals or attacking. He can't always hold the dimensional phalanx Shangri-La with one hand while fighting. Generally speaking, the dimensional square Shangri-La and the Flying Thunder God's technique are very similar. They are divided into 3 steps. The first step is to place the mark, the second step is to sense the mark, and the third step is to teleport. However, both sides have their own advantages and disadvantages. First of all, the marking time of dimensional square Shangri-La is relatively long and takes 3 seconds, while the marking time of Flying Thunder God technique is very short. You can even mark the enemy directly during battle. This greatly limits the use of the dimensional phalanx Shangri-La in combat. The rest are all the advantages of dimensional square Shangri-La. First, the mark after the dimensional square is placed will disappear quickly and will appear when triggered. The art of Flying Thunder God will always have that kind of warlock mark. Second, the dimensional phalanx has perception assistance. Even non-perception ninjas can sense the mark with the help of the taigu, and the perception distance can even reach 5 kilometers. The perception of the Flying Thunder God depends entirely on the ninja's personal ability, and it is difficult to reach 5 kilometers. However, Naraku usually does not teleport too far, just in case a strong person knows the mark he has placed and is waiting for him over there with a knife. Didn't he seek death in the past? Third, the dimensional phalanx can banish enemies to the end of the world. But Flying Thunder God cannot. The third one was something Naraku had only seen in the anime, but in reality he was not ready to try it himself. Who knows what is at the end of the ninja world? He plans to find a strong man later to try. Fourth, the dimensional phalanx can mark the air, but the Flying Thunder God cannot. With this Naraku, he can release a large number of marks in one place. If the enemy dares to attack, let him experience the power of the field. You can move at will within the field and you are simply invincible. Overall, Naraku is very satisfied with the dimensional phalanx. With this thing, it will be difficult for the enemy to kill him. His personal combat effectiveness has also been greatly improved. However, this also requires him to imprint more. Secondly, Naraku's own limitation is that he needs to improve his reaction ability and combat intelligence. Otherwise, even if he teleports in front of the enemy, it will turn into an embarrassing scene of standing still. There are even enemies who look forward to Naraku's approach so that they can deal with their enemies easily. Namikaze Minato's reaction ability should be considered the strongest in the ninja world. But asking Naraku to hand over his own life-saving means to Minato, Naraku felt that he was a bit sacrificing his own life and seeking the last. He had a feeling that as his reputation grew, danger lurked. And he can completely use other weapons later to gain some of Minato's talents. Another one is Rasengan. He plans to use the method taught by Jiraiya to Naruto to try to learn Rasengan when he has time. Rasengan's Muji ninjutsu is very suitable for space movement attacks. Of course, Naraku can also combine space movement with Hatake sword technique, and then slightly optimize it to form his own flying thunder god slash. In the root dungeon, Kurama Taro is pleading with Danzo, Danzo-sama. I really did not betray the village. Danzo really felt that it was unlikely that Kurama Taro would betray the village, but this man had always been content with the status quo. He clearly had powerful genjutsu, but was unwilling to help the village, so he knew he was living in a corner. It's better to be killed by him using a ninja sword to contribute his own strength to Konoha. Now the only thing missing from his 8-puppet quota is a powerful genjutsu ninja. He struggled for a long time, but still didn't have the guts to reach out to the Uchiha clan. But as the war approaches, the bloodstains of the Uchiha clan may not be able to help him. Danzo swung his sword across Kurama Taro without mercy and was killed instantly with his throat cut. But Kurama Taro soon stood up again. At this time, Danzo was surrounded by 8 ninjas. Shimura Danzo looked at the 8 puppets around him. These puppets were all jonin, and at worst they were special jonin. Among these ninjas are genjutsu, taijutsu, ninjutsu, swordsmanship, and puppetry. Grandmaster's ninjas can be said to be fully coordinated. In addition, these ninjas also have ninjas with different attributes such as fire, water, earth, wind, and thunder. Danzo can completely control them to use Sarutobi Hiruzen's unique skill of the 5 escapes and the Dalien bullet technique. In his eyes, Sarutobi Hiruzen's taijutsu and wooden made him greedy. And I don't know if it's because of Hachifusa's ability. Now Danzo only needs to pay half of the ninjutsu used by Danzo to control the puppet and the chakra consumed by the puppet. That is to say, if the chakra used by Sarutobi Hiruzen to perform the 5 releases and the great continuous bullet technique is given to Danzo, he can perform it twice. Shimura Danzo thought proudly, Hiruzen, you are too far behind me. My current strength is completely capable of crushing you. As long as I make contributions in future wars, you will have to retreat to me sooner or later. Following Danzo's inner thoughts, the 8 rooms also glowed faintly. Naraku on the other side suddenly noticed another system notification. Byte, Shimura Danzo's utilization of the March of the Dead 8 rooms has reached the intermediate level, and the talent is copied and activated. Danzo's right eye Sharingan pupil force Uchiha Mirror's right eye. With the injection of Uchiha Mirror's right eye pupil power, Naraku's Sharingan automatically opened again, and finally his left eye finally turned into a 3 Magatama Sharingan. Naraku never thought that he would get the Uchiha power reward from Danzo. He can only say, Danzo, you really deserve to die. Uchiha Mirror, you are your beloved relatives, friends, and brothers. You actually dug out someone's right eye. After Naraku cursed Danzo in his heart, he began to think about his current forging materials. The only A-level weapons that can be forged now are the Stone Ghost Face, Demonic Appearance Devil's Essence, and the 10,000 Years, Diamond Tree. After forging the Stone Ghost Noodles, people can transform into vampires like Dio, but Naraku does not want to completely replicate the Stone Ghost Noodles in the JoJo world. What he wants is to integrate materials rich in yin-style chakra into the Stone Ghost Noodles. In this case, the vampire transformed from this Stone Ghost Face will have more of a mythical character, instead of the one in the original work that only has the ability to strengthen the physical body and quickly recover. Or you confuse a secret technique similar to the Onagora no Jutsu with the Stone Ghost Face. In this way, the bloodstains and abilities of each master can be stored in the Stone Ghost Face. In this way, a Stone Ghost Face that can evolve infinitely will appear. Perhaps in the end, relying on continuous evolution, the Stone Ghost Face can be made without the IJ Red Stone. The master becomes the perfect ultimate creature. Onagora no Jutsu was developed by Jiraiya and Orochimaru's sibling Hiruhu. I don't know if he has developed it or how to get it. All of this requires Naraku to plan carefully. The demon god's manifestation, Devil's Essence, requires a super dangerous ice monster. Naraku feels that this super dangerous species may be very strong, even reaching the strength of a tailed beast. Think about the super dangerous species in the Zanmei world, especially the northern dragon, which has a body that is 15 kilometers long. This Taigu can never break using only its body hair. The ability to create the demon god appearance demon essence with just a little blood must not be too bad. Naraku really wasn't sure whether Murasama's poison could affect him. But Naraku thought that the demon god's manifestation, devil's essence, would only require the blood of the ice monster, but he was a little unwilling to do so. A taigu made just from the blood of a super dangerous species is definitely not as good as using a complete super dangerous species. If the complete super dangerous species is used, perhaps the strength of the taigu can be close to S level, and its power will be comparable to that of frozen fruit. This is his complete idea. Needless to say, Naraku searched for a long time but couldn't find a way to forge it. The materials were too terrifying. Naraku planned to forge a sword directly based on the 10,000-year King Kong tree, adding some common dangerous species and some other materials. The 10,000-year-old King Kong tree serves as the skeleton of the sword. Presumably this kind of sword will not break even if all the metal on the outside is cut off. This kind of forging is actually equivalent to installing an external armor that is not as strong as the main body of the 10,000-year King Kong tree. If you have the right technology and materials later, you can completely remove the materials and forge it again. With Naraku's current level of forging, he quickly thought of two poisonous dragon beasts and wood beasts. These two dangerous species are very suitable for the attributes of the 10,000-year King Kong tree. But we are already on the wood beast, why not try some Hashirama cells? Naraku shook his head, having too many thoughts was a sin. If he continues to think like this, there is no need for him to forge, because no matter what he forges, there must be a way to match it with high points. This is like asking a friend to buy a car. You originally wanted to buy a Wuling, but in the end he was able to persuade you to buy a sports car. While Naraku was struggling, Kakuzu on the other side had already rushed to the black market of the land of earth for the bounty of the rope tree. Titu looked at the most powerful bounty hunter that the black market had sworn in front of him, and the forehead protector of Taki Ninja Village was marked with a horizontal line on his head. Wearing a mask on his face and a robe on his body, he looks rather mysterious. Titu said doubtfully, "Can you really guarantee that one person can kill the Senju rope tree?" If Kakuzu didn't want to get the bounty quickly, he wouldn't have met the Iwa ninja in front of him, but for the sake of his most beloved little money, Kakuzu still had to bite the bullet and responded coldly, "I am also the one with the 70 million bounty. I have taken some, but if you don't trust me, then go find someone else." Kakuzu also takes pride in being a legendary bounty hunter. Titu thought for a while and thought that if Kakuzu couldn't complete the task, they wouldn't give him any money. Besides, Kakuzu's record was really good. So we found a safe corner to communicate with Kakuzu on the battle plan. "Tomorrow, our people will lure Orochimaru's troops away. Then you and I will go to Konoha to eliminate Konoha's logistics troops. Of course, your main task is it's the Senju rope tree." Kakuzu expressed forcefully. 70 million taels is the price of Senju's rope tree head and weapons. If you want him to kill others again, you have to pay more. Tai-Tu also knew the rules of their bounty hunter and nodded in agreement. From then on, the cooperation between the two was officially reached. In fact, Tetsuchi originally wanted to go directly to Orochimaru for revenge, but he hasn't thought of a way to deal with Orochimaru Kurichimanji yet, so he can only kill Orochimaru's apprentice first. "Kamishi, I will definitely avenge you. Orochimaru, we will fight until death." The next day, Naoki, as the team leader of the logistics team, also helped his companions with work. Although Naoki did not know how to treat ninjutsu, he could still do some work of carrying equipment and caring for the wounded. During this period, the rope tree also gave full play to its subjective initiative and actively integrated with the masses. "At least I'm familiar with everyone in the logistics department." Now Shu himself is quite proud of himself. He feels that he has been recognized by everyone, and that he is one step closer to becoming a Hokage. Of course, this is just what he thinks. Miyoko is now a medical ninja under Naoki. She is a bit complaining about her younger boss, but she is not polite at all. "Captain Naoki, can you carry the equipment? Be careful when traveling, you don't need to be so fast." Naoshu touched his head and said with an embarrassed smile, "Meiyazi, I will definitely pay attention next time." Meiyazi heard Naoshu say that he would definitely do it next time, so she could only give him a blank look. Miyoko then continued to use the healing ninjutsu on the wounded in the hospital bed. At this time, Naoki stared blankly at Miyoko, who was treating the wounded, and his eyes were involuntarily attracted to her. He stared at Meiyazi's silky blonde hair, the sunlight shining on it, giving off a faint light. Under the blonde hair, there is a delicate face, the delicate skin exudes a healthy luster, the bridge of the nose is straight, the lips are slightly raised, with a gentle smile. Miyoko didn't realize at first that she had become the focus of Nashu's attention. She focuses on treating the wounded, with green chakra light constantly flashing between her hands, injecting life into the wounded body. However, when she took a breath after finishing the treatment, she suddenly felt a gaze falling on her. She originally wanted to pretend not to know, and then turned around after Naoshu realized what she was doing. I never imagined that the brat Shengshu was staring at her as if he had never seen a woman before. It can only be said that it is really difficult for young people to hide their love, or they cannot hide it. At this time, Hisaishi, who was lying on the hospital bed, watched as the nurse Miyoko in front of him finished her usual treatment with ninjutsu and was touching her body. The stupid young boy Naoshu next to him didn't know how to restrain himself and stared straight at others. Hisaishi decided to break the awkward atmosphere. Hisaishi said to Miyoko, "Miyako, I want to drink water." In fact, Miyoko also knew that the uncle in front of her usually poured water by himself, so he must have noticed her unconscious actions before. Miyoko hurried out to fill the kettle with water. When Naoshu also wanted to fill the kettle, Hisaishi stopped him. "Naoshu, kid. Don't go. Come here, I have something to tell you." Naoki was a little confused about Hisaishi stopping him, and asked, "Uncle Hisaishi, what's the matter?" Hisaishi pretended to be mysterious and said, "Do you like Miyoko?" Shengshu was stunned by this wave of straight shots. He held his fingers for a long time and couldn't say a complete sentence. Hisaishi said to the rope tree with a serious face, "As long as you obey my command, it will be easy to catch Meiyazi. Don't look at me now, uncle, I am ordinary, but when I was young, I was a well-known handsome young man from all over the country." Naoki touched his head and said, "Uncle Hisaishi, haven't you always been single?" Hisaishi's 30-year-old face could not withstand the critical attack of this rope tree, so he could only argue, "I am not willing to give up an entire forest for a tree. Do you know what a prodigal is? Today you looked at Meiyazi's expression when she just left. Now you are just one confession away from becoming friends with Meiyazi. If it weren't for your good character and sufficient strength, I wouldn't have given this stunt to you. Here it is for you." Naoki also nodded and looked at Hisaishi expectantly to continue. After earning enough of Naoki's expectations, Hisaishi said, "Miyako likes tulips and the moon the most. Tonight, make an appointment with Miyako. Under the witness of the moon, give her tulips and confess your love seriously. That's almost it." Although Naoshu was a little skeptical about why it was so simple, he nodded in agreement. After expressing his gratitude, he started preparing seriously. The moon was extraordinarily round at night, and Meiyazi was standing there shyly. Naoshu bravely said to Meiyazi, "I like you. Meiyazi, can you be my girlfriend?" While talking about the rope tree, he took out the tulips that had been prepared from behind and handed them to Miyoko. Meiyazi was about to agree. "Ah, enemy attack, enemy attack. Go and report to Orochimaru-sama." The screams from the distance completely broke the peace. Naoshu also knew that this was a critical moment. Naoshu and Miyoko looked at each other, and Naoshu was ready to rush to the center of the battle. At this time, Meiyazi took Naoshu's hand and said seriously, "Naoshu, I like you too. When you come back, we will be boyfriend and girlfriend. Promise me, you will come back alive." Naoki looked back confidently. "I will definitely come back, I want to be a Hokage man." Naoki looked at the Iwanin who was killing Konoha's support staff and roared, "The evil spirit is haunting me." A giant in armor appeared behind the rope tree. The armor's mask instantly cracked, and a terrifying and ferocious mouth emerged from inside. It quickly covered Naoshu's body. Naoshu raised the spear in his hand and killed a rock ninja Chunin in an instant. At this time, the majestic transformation of the rope tree just attracted the enemy's eyes. Kakuzu also found his target in an instant, and appeared in front of the rope tree in a flash. At the same time, Kakuzu quickly unraveled the black thread, separated his wrist from his arm, released dense black thread from his arm, and then shot it towards the rope tree. This tentacle fist hit the heart of the rope tree hard, and the rope tree was directly rushed away by this powerful kinetic energy. Kakuzu was not happy about the success of this sneak attack. Although in the past, Kakuzu could rely on this punch to penetrate the opponent's heart with one blow, but when it hit the armor of Nogeki, Kakuzu felt that his hand bones had been broken. And I didn't feel that my palm penetrated the armor at that time. Naoki looked at the dent in the armor in front of his heart. He also knew how terrifying Kakuzu's previous blow was, and he couldn't help but pay attention to the enemy in front of him. Kakuzu also slowly said to the rope tree, "Humph, you are the grandson of Senju Hashirama. I was lucky enough to fight with your grandfather back then. I have to say, you are too bad compared to your grandfather. Far away, even compared to me." Naoki knew a little bit about his grandfather's power, and immediately told the truth. "I have never heard Grandma Mito say that Grandpa has a strong rival like you. The only person who can be evenly matched with Grandpa is Uchiha Madara. You must be Grandpa, one of the countless defeated generals." Kakuzu felt that he couldn't talk to this kid, but he still wanted to protect his information. After all, sometimes for ninjas, losing information is just the shortest distance from death. And Kakuzu doesn't believe Iwa Ninja at all. He doesn't want Konoha to get his information. Kakuzu said coldly to the rope tree, "Little devil, I originally wanted to save your life, but now it seems that I will accept your heart. Little devil, you don't want these miscellaneous fish around you to die unexpectedly when we fight, do you?" Later, Naoki and Kakuzu attacked each other while staying away from the core battlefield. For Naoki, he did not feel that he could defeat the enemy in front of him. He felt that if he could attract the enemy away by himself, it would definitely be profitable. While fighting, the two of them came to a small forest with no one around. Orochimaru on the other side was fighting hard on the battlefield, but he felt that the current situation was not quite right. Because these people in front of me are a bit too motley, compared to the previous Iwa ninja who had a strong fighting will and was professional in the ninjutsu system. These ninjas in front of me are more like a group of mercenaries and miscellaneous fish. The most important thing is that there are no common Iwa ninja commanders among the enemies. With Orochimaru's battlefield sense, he instantly sensed something was wrong. Orochimaru began to recall what he was missing. Because on the surface, it was completely profitable now. After all, the people of Konoha did not sacrifice much at all. Killed a large number of enemy cannon fodder. Orochimaru finally thought of Noshu, who was in the battlefield logistics department. After all, Orochimaru thought that no matter how powerful Noshu was, he was just a new generation ninja who was not very outstanding. The Iwa ninja probably won't start a small-scale war specifically for the rope tree, but Orochimaru really can't think of any other premeditations by the Iwa ninja. Now that the logistics department has added the rope tree, it should be worth the Iwa ninja's visit this time. Seeing that there were not many enemies left, Orochimaru immediately ordered, "Retract the troops, leaving one person in the same team to take care of the wounded. The others will follow me to the logistics department." Orochimaru put his hands together with a solemn expression and quickly formed seals. Psychic art. After a burst of smoke dissipated, a huge python appeared in front of him. The scales on its body shone with a frightening light. It was spitting out letters from its mouth and its eyes were fierce. This is Orochimaru's psychic beast, the 10,000 snakes. As soon as one snake was summoned, he said dissatisfiedly, "Orochimaru, what are you looking for me for? I almost caught the prey." Orochimaru's face was gloomy and he replied in a cold tone, "Shut up. Your sacrifice is indispensable. Hurry up and get to the logistics department on the front line as quickly as possible." Wan Shi sensed Orochimaru's seriousness and did not dare to say any more. He quickly swam and moved forward quickly. Orochimaru sat on the back of 10,000 snakes, thinking to himself, "The rope tree. I hope I guessed it wrong." His eyes were full of worry. At this time, Naoki was already fighting with Kakuzu. It was obviously Naoki who was holding down Kakuzu and beating him, but Naoki felt more and more panicked because he had never met anyone who could fight him head-on since he put on the evil ghost. Not even his Orochimaru sensei can. And it's not just the terrifying power of Kakuzu's punches and kicks, his physical skills are also very strong. That is, the rope tree has almost no defense to seemingly suppress Kakuzu. After Kakuzu also experimented with taijutsu for a while, he knew that there was no way he could kill Naoki before he broke through his armor. He also considered that there was no one nearby, so Kakuzu jumped back, pulled away and said, "Humph. Your armor is indeed very good. I even think the price of this armor is definitely more than 20 million taels." Quote. Now Shu remembered what Naraku told him before, that they were Naraku's mobile billboards. In addition, in order not to show any cowardice, he also said directly, "This is the strongest armor made by Master Naraku, the #1 blacksmith in the future ninja world." When Kakuzu heard Naraku, he also thought of the boy who was also worth 70 million taels. The same boy seemed to Kakuzu to be more than 70 million taels, given his ability to forge weapons of this level. Should be worth the higher price. Kakuzu watched the rope tree rushing towards him, with a disdainful smile on his lips, and quickly formed a seal with his hands, fire style 2 kung fu. I saw a large piece of blazing fire coming out of Kakuzu's mouth. Due to Kakuzu's terrifying chakra power and precise control brought by many years of experience, the flames were like surging waves, carrying blazing high temperatures and astonishing power, sweeping toward the rope tree with overwhelming force. However, the rope tree was not frightened by the terrifying fire. He was well prepared and dodged nimbly, avoiding the initial impact of the flames in the blink of an eye. But he let his guard down. Kakuzu's ninjutsu will never be that simple. Then Kakuzu's flames did not dissipate after landing, but instead expanded in scope instantly. What was originally just a small sea of fire has now turned into a huge area of fire, as if it is going to swallow up the entire world. The powerful flames spread mercilessly, igniting the surrounding trees and burning them into dead wood. The temperature in the sea of fire rose sharply, making people feel suffocatingly hot. Naturally, Rope Tree couldn't avoid this large-scale flaming Rope Tree, but Rope Tree found that his armor seemed to be extraordinarily resistant to flames. When this powerful fire style attacked his body, he actually felt that he was only slightly injured. What Naoki didn't know was that this was because Jiraiya's toad oil flame bomb burned him before forging the evil spirit, which made Tyrande more adaptable to fire damage. Although this resistance will continue to increase after being made into armor, the innate resistance to fire style makes the armor far ahead in resisting fire style. Kakuzu looked at the sea of fire in front of him. He felt that the rope tree would never be able to avoid such a range of attacks, and he did not see the rope tree actually resisting water style, so in his opinion, the rope tree was probably already there at this time, ahead, and he can collect his prey. When Kakuzu was walking forward slowly, he suddenly found that there was a spear in his heart, and there was a faint flash of lightning on the spear. Only then did Kakuzu notice that the rope tree, which had been invisible before, slowly emerged. As the rope tree spear was pulled out, Kakuzu also slowly fell to the ground. It turns out that the sneak attack was successful thanks to the terrifying power of Kakuzu fire style as a shield, the stealth ability of the armor, and Kakuzu's carelessness. Naoki gasped for breath on the spot. He only remembered during the battle that Kakuzu's powerful defense should be the blessing brought by Earth style Earth Spear. Lightning style is extremely resistant to Earth style, so he covered his spear with lightning style chakra, which easily pierced Kakuzu's heart. Just as Naoki was walking towards the middle of the battlefield, Kakuzu, who was lying dead on the ground, suddenly kicked Naoki. The rope tree was directly kicked away by this kick, breaking a big tree. After Kakuzu stood up, he stopped pouring water and threw away his robe. I saw 4 masks on Kakuzu's back, and the mask at the heart seemed to be damaged by the rope tree's attack. As Kakuzu bent down, countless black lines poured out from Kakuzu's back, or in other words, the mask behind Kakuzu came out of Kakuzu's body. As Kakuzu continued to twitch, 4 masks of different shapes completely came out of Kakuzu's body, forming 4 monsters of different sizes. These monsters had their legs upright and their bodies were composed of dense black lines. Suddenly one of the damaged masked monsters fell to the ground. In the end, only a puddle of black water was left on the ground. Kakuzu said calmly, "You probably didn't dodge my fire style before. It's just that you relied on your armor to withstand the damage of my fire style. And the invisibility before was also the ability of that armor." Shungshu was also surprised. Shungshu was too far away from these top experts in terms of experience. He really didn't understand why the enemy could guess his information so quickly. But now Shu also has a certain amount of brains. He looked at the mask he had pierced before. He probably guessed how he could kill the enemy in front of him. He decided to deceive the enemy, so he said, "You are really powerful. I think I can only kill you by destroying all your masks." Kakuzu didn't fall for the trick, he just said calmly, 40 million taels. What? Shen Shu said she didn't understand. Kakuzu emphasized again. That armor of yours is worth at least 40 million taels. Now Shu looked at the enemy in front of him who seemed to be extremely obsessed with money, so he pointed at the light green gem between his eyebrows and said, "This is the gem left by my grandfather first Hokage. Just this gem can buy down some mountains. You better not break this one." Kakuzu's green eyes immediately focused on the inconspicuous gem between the eyebrows of the rope tree armor. He was also scared of poverty. With his shallow knowledge, he couldn't imagine that a broken stone could buy several mountains. "So is this stone worth hundreds of millions of taels?" Kakuzu said. "It seems that I was shallow before. The most valuable thing is actually this gem. It seems that today is a good harvest. But how to get the gems without destroying them is a big problem." But he seemed to have no other solution. He could only say, "Hey, brat, give me the gem on your head. I will turn around and leave immediately. You can also save your companions." Seeing Kakuzu's serious tone, Naoki decided to believe him for once. The rope tree tried to pull it out a few times, but found that Naraku's forging technology was so good that it completely integrated the gem and the armor. Conventional methods could not remove the gem at all. And Roshu cannot directly hand over his only weapon to the enemy and completely give up resistance. What's more, in Now Shu's view, this is a weapon forged by Naraku himself, carrying Naraku's expectations and proving the bond between him and Naraku. Kakuzu looked at the rope tree that was completely unable to remove the gem, and his face gradually darkened. He felt that the rope tree in front of him was playing tricks on him, so he was ready to do it himself. But he didn't want to accidentally destroy the gem, so he prepared to use fire style, water style, and lightning style to attack the rope tree. If Fang Dun cuts out flaws in the gem, he will feel distressed. A wisp of lightning appeared on Kakuzu's thunder mask. Rushu looked at the traces of lightning on the thunder attribute mask and felt that the enemy seemed to be using lightning style. However, the rope tree did not have the wind attribute chakra, so he directly started moving at high speed, trying to avoid Kakuzu's attack. After the masked monster prepares for a short cast of ninjutsu. Lightning style pseudo darkness. The earthly resentment lightning style masked monster released a sharp and powerful thunderbolt from its mouth, killing the rope tree in the distance with terrifying power. The lightning style pseudo darkness released by Kakuzu is extremely powerful. In the original work, Kakashi relied on 2 Reikiri to resolve it. You must know that Kakashi's Reikiri can cut through the lightning in the sky. Faced with this blow, the rope tree had no way to completely resist, and could only rely on its own speed advantage to dodge as much as possible. After dodging most of the lightning-style attack range, Roshu had no choice but to attack. After attaching lightning style to the spear in his hand, he angrily slashed at Leiden. However, although the power of thunder and lightning was partially offset, the current was still transmitted to him along the rope tree's spear. Ah, ah, ah. Rao's tree continued to scream because he was trying a stronger electric shock than Yang Yangshin's electric chair. His body twitched involuntarily, as if every muscle and nerve in his body was being tortured. His face turned pale, and there was even a little smoke rising from his body. Kakuzu, however, did not go up to touch up the damage, but just stood there quietly, watching everything that happened in front of him indifferently. As a senior ninja, he knows that there are too many variables in battle and cannot let down his guard easily. According to his many years of experience, this situation may sometimes be caused by the enemy deliberately trying to escape by pretending to be dead. And even if the opponent is really seriously injured, he may launch a final counterattack before dying, posing a threat to himself. Looking at Naoki lying on the ground, Kakuzu took advantage of the ground's resentment and stretched his right hand to Naoki's head. Kakuzu must get that gem. When Kakuzu lost patience after failing to grab the gem several times, Naoki directly used the spear in his hand to cut off Kakuzu's arm. Kakuzu screamed because of this. It can be said that Kakuzu underestimated the rope tree and even more underestimated the evil ghost. The terrifying thunder and lightning did bring damage to the rope tree protected by the armor, but the Senju clan has the characteristics of thick skin and quick blood recovery, plus the adaptability of being haunted by evil spirits. The combination of these two gives the rope tree extremely terrifying battery life, which is exactly Kakuzu's habit of not finishing the last hit. Let the fallen rope tree recover again. Naoki stood up slowly, only to find that the arm that had been completely severed just now was connected again by Kakuzu's earthly resentment, and returned to Kakuzu's body. Kakuzu also expressed his approval of the armor in front of him, but it was nothing compared to his own. Physical attacks are of no use to me. Don't ask why Kakuzu likes to reveal his information to the enemy. Ask him just to oppress the enemy, and because he is older, he likes to show off. Shungshu basically agreed in his heart, which made Shungshu a little desperate. He probably guessed how to kill the enemy, which was to use attribute restraint to break the enemy's mask. According to the order of water rightwards double arrow fire rightwards double arrow wind rightwards double arrow thunder rightwards double arrow earth rightwards double arrow water, fire, wind and earth are necessary. In order to achieve this goal more easily, the rope tree himself only has the earth, water and thunder attributes chakra, and does not have wind and fire at all. Of course, if the rope tree masters a more powerful ninjutsu, such as Naruto's wind release and Rasengan shuriken level ninjutsu, it can be forcibly destroyed, and it can even directly cut off the connection between the earthly resentment and you. It's a pity that there is no rope tree. Naoki also has the belief of sacrifice. He is going to do his best to hold back the enemy in front of him. He must not let this enemy kill others. The best result is to wait until teacher Orochimaru comes to the rescue. Rope tree jumped behind the tree and gradually became invisible. Unfortunately, from the perspective of a strong person like Kakuzu, there are still some flaws in the invisibility of the rope tree. In the past, rope tree was able to sneak attack, mainly because he didn't know that the enemy had this method, plus fire styles cover and strong enemies. At this time, the two masks next to Kakuzu opened their huge mouths again and prepared to release ninjutsu. Naoki tried to move his body slowly, but found that the masked monster next to Kakuzu also moved with him. He can only unlock invisibility. After all, invisibility also requires stamina and chakra. Naoki looked at the flashes of light and water vapor on Kakuzu's mask and knew that the enemy had a high probability of using water style and lightning style. The rope tree directly thrust the spear in his hand into the earth, and input the earth style chakra into the spear. This is also the method of use discovered by rope tree as he continuously inputs different chakra into the weapon. Due to the good conduction performance of the weapon and its adaptability to chakra, it can serve as an auxiliary device for ninjutsu, which can speed up the release of ninjutsu. Actually, it's similar to a mage's magic wand. Earth style wall. Rope tree instantly created a wall of earth to protect itself. This defensive ninjutsu has a great countering effect on water style. In an instant, the masked monster also performed ninjutsu. Water style water curtain. Lightning style pseudo darkness. The powerful water cannon ejected from the mouth of the water style mask monster was blocked instantly after hitting the earth flow wall of the rope tree. But with the arrival of lightning style, the terrifying thunder and lightning instantly penetrated the earth flow wall of the rope tree, and then the thunder and lightning and the water flow rushed towards the rope tree together. Because this time the thunder and lightning arrived together with the water flow, the rope tree has no way to use lightning style to offset the damage. The rope tree can only avoid the lightning damage with all its strength. But in the end the rope tree was overtaken by the current. The powerful current hits the body of the rope tree, and the strong current stimulates the body of the rope tree. Another electric shock stronger than Yang Yangshin's electric chair. Fortunately, Evil Ghost had just experienced a wave of lightning strikes before, and the power of the lightning this time was diluted a lot due to the water flow. Roshu finally used the spear in his hand to prop himself up on the ground, and then managed to stand. Little did he know that this action frightened Kakuzu. He had clearly used the more powerful ninjutsu, and just now the boy had to lie down. Now I can stand. That is to say, Kakuzu doesn't know that there is a powerful Sea Emperor Kaido in the distant world of One Piece. This Kaido is unable to kill the enemy at one time and also likes to get high, which leads to the protagonist's combat power growing too fast and eventually defeating him. At that time and at this very moment, the evil spirits haunting me were the Nika fruits of the rope tree, and the blood of the Senju clan was like the blood of the D clan of immune to death. Just when Kakuzu was thinking about how to defeat the rope tree without breaking the gems, Tetsuchi arrived. Tetsuchi watched Kakuzu and Naoki look at each other, and Naoki's life seemed to be like a candle in the wind. Questioned Kakuzu. Hurry up. Defeat him. Don't you want the bounty? Kakuzu was also a little angry at the question from the ant in front of him. His armor is more than 20 million taels, and the gem on the armor is an extra price. Tai-Tu was also very annoyed, as he had clearly negotiated the price before. But now he suddenly changed his mind, and Tai-Tu cursed angrily, "What a worthless bounty hunter with no spirit of contract. If you don't want to help me, I will do it myself. Don't blame us for not paying when I get the head." Kakuzu was also angry because of Tetsudo's rudeness. What he valued most was money, followed by his high-level professionalism and contract spirit. As a result, the iron soil in front of him was attacking the focus of his pride. Kakuzu stopped in front of Titu, and Titu attacked Kakuzu without knowing the heights of the world. Tetsudo directly covered his whole body with the earth spear technique and punched Kakuzu with all his strength. Kakuzu was also a master of the earth spear technique, so naturally he would not show any cowardice and also punched back. There was a boom. The ground beneath their feet cracked directly because of this time. Tetsudo and Kakuzu also retreated quickly because of the fist exchange just now. Tetsudo, who retreated far away, knew that he had been presumptuous just now. It was obvious that the earth spear technique that he was proud of could not defeat the bounty hunter in front of him. He looked at the masked monsters next to him and knew that he had kicked an iron plate this time. Naoshu watched blankly as the two changed from teammates to rivals, and even started fighting. He could only say that it was a God-given opportunity, which gave him a perfect space to relax. He even used this time to recover a little strength. Naoki shouted to Kakuzu again, Mr. Bounty Hunter, if you don't help me defeat this enemy in front of me, I will definitely leave the gem to you. This gem is just forged and inlaid. Well, it's not easy to take it out. Later, I will find Master Naraku, who forges weapons, and he will definitely be able to remove the gem. I guarantee it with the credibility of the Senju clan. At this time, Kakuzu already believed Naoki's words. Looking at the silent scene, a drop of sweat broke out on Titu's head next to him. He looked at Kakuzu a little warily and said, "Don't forget our deal, that gem. I will definitely give it to you if you defeat him. And Orochimaru will be back soon with a large army. Are you sure you can defeat Konoha's army by yourself?" Kakuzu glanced at Tetsudo with disdain and said, "I will definitely fulfill my contract." Then he said seriously to the rope tree, "What a pity. If you can survive, you can hire me to kill this person next time." But this time he hired me. Tetsudo also looked at Kakuzu with a disgusting smile. He couldn't die without avenging his revenge. Naoshu also felt very pity. This may be the persistence of the powerful ninja. The first grandfather is like this, and the second grandfather is also like this. Rope Tree stood upright again, raising the spear in his hand. This battle was about death. Tetsudo asked Kakuzu as if asking for permission, "Should I come too?" Kakuzu also responded coldly, "Just don't break the gem on his head." After hearing Kakuzu's instructions, Tetsudo also rushed towards the rope tree. I watched the fight between Naoshu and Tetsudo going back and forth. Even Tetsudo was suppressed by Naoshu even when he didn't dare to use ninjutsu. Kakuzu is a little annoyed. After all, if we drag it on now, Orochimaru may come over, and he may not get anything by then. But now, if someone doesn't do something ruthless, the rope tree in front of him will look like a weakling from immune to death, and he won't be able to kill him no matter what. Naoshu also didn't expect that the casual mention of a mouthful of gems could bring so many variables to this battle. It can be said that if the rope tree hadn't picked up the gem before, even if it was haunted by evil spirits, it would have been quickly killed by Kakuzu's combined ninjutsu. Kakuzu didn't believe that there could be a ninjutsu whose enemies were immune to all attributes, so Kakuzu decided to try using wind release first, and a small wind appeared on the face of the wind release mask monster. Wind escape press. In an instant, a high-pressure wind ball was released from the mouth of Yu, the wind mask monster, and was sweeping away all objects on the scene. The storm that formed the vortex was exploding over a large area. Naoki and Tetsudo were resisting Kakuzu's technique, and Tetsudo was blown away. The rope tree stuck its spear into the ground, trying to resist the storm. The wind attribute chakra kept cutting the rope tree's armor. The armor was even cut open in some places, and the blood of the rope tree could even be seen slowly seeping out. Kakuzu saw that the rope tree was still standing. For the first time, he felt at a loss. After seeing the undamaged gem on Naoki's head, Kakuzu took a deep breath and decided to zoom in. The Earth Resentment U Fire Style Mask Monster, the Earth Resentment U Wind Escape Mask Monster, and the Earth Resentment U Lightning Style Mask Monster were combined together. They opened their big mouths at the same time and began to accumulate terrifying chakra. Fire Style Hard Work. The Fire Style Mask Monster spurted out blazing flames, and the flames intertwined into a fiery pillar of fire in the air. Wind Release. Pressure. The Wind Release Mask Monster blew out a powerful whirlwind from its mouth, which blended with the flames, making the fire even more intense. Lightning Style Pseudo Darkness. The Lightning Style Masked Monster made a harsh thunderous sound, and a thick bolt of lightning shot out from its mouth, converging with fire and wind. These three types of ninjutsu with different attributes merged together to form an extremely terrifying energy cannon, which blasted straight towards the rope tree with the power of destroying the world. Shungshu's eyes widened, looking at the terrifying energy cannon approaching in front of him, and a trace of despair surged in his heart. He tried his best to dodge, but his body was unable to dodge the attack in time. Chapter 51. At this time, Rushu gritted his teeth and injected the last trace of chakra in his body into the spear in his hand, and then stabbed the energy cannon in front of him fiercely. However, in the face of Kakuzu's terrifying blow, the rope tree's attack seemed insignificant, like a cricket shaking a tree. The spear in his hand was shattered piece by piece in front of Kakuzu's energy cannon, turning into countless fragments floating in the air. The next moment, the unstoppable energy cannon instantly penetrated Rushu's armor and passed through his stomach, leaving a huge bloody hole in his stomach. Blood and internal organs gush out from the wound, and are quickly carbonized under the influence of energy. Not only that, after the energy cannon defeated the rope tree, it still continued to attack the forest behind him unabated. Then, an earth-shaking explosion was heard, and the entire forest was instantly destroyed beyond recognition and was in a mess. Among the ruins, Kakuzu's figure slowly emerged. He looked at the rope tree that fell to the ground indifferently, until he saw the intact gem on the head of the rope tree and smiled with satisfaction. The rope tree was lying in a pool of blood, its breath of life gradually dissipating. At this time, Miyoko and Hisaishi rushed out from nowhere, and Miyoko began to perform medical ninjutsu on Natsuki's belly. Hisaishi held on to his sick body to confront Kakuzu. Miyoko was still crying and said to Naoshu, you can't die. We promised before that we will become boyfriend and girlfriend. It's a pity that when Miyoko faced this level of injury, her meager ninjutsu treatment was of no use at all. Let alone her, even Tsunade was helpless when facing this kind of injury. I don't know whether it was because of the evil spirits haunting him or the constitution of the Senju clan, but the rope tree opened his eyes again. He first glanced at Hisaishi, who was knocked away by a punch, and then looked at Kakuzu, who was slowly walking towards him, his eyes full of indifference and murderous intent. Then, he punched Miyazi again, sending her flying high into the air. Naoki looked at Miyoko's body flying high, his eyes gradually dimmed, and finally he closed his eyes. Kakuzu looked at the lifeless rope tree with his eyes closed, knowing in his heart that the battle was over. As Kakuzu pressed Naoki's head with both hands, he tried to remove the gem mixed in the tattered armor. A powerful force directly shook Kakuzu's hand away, causing Kakuzu's hand to hurt. He was shocked and thought, could this armor protect the master? When Kakuzu was about to try again, he suddenly heard the sound of plop, plop, plop. At first, Kakuzu didn't pay attention, but soon he realized that the sound came from the tree. And as time goes by, this little pop 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 sound is slowly getting louder. Kakuzu's eyes widened with an expression of disbelief on his face. He couldn't believe his ears, because the sound was clearly the sound of a heartbeat. Even Kakuzu's good temper turned into anger. Kakuzu couldn't help but cursed. Why aren't you dead yet? His face became extremely gloomy, and the anger in his heart burned. He had never encountered such a tenacious opponent, which made him feel very annoyed. Kakuzu decided not to hold back anymore, and prepared to use all the power of Yu to violently grab Naoki's heart. He gritted his teeth and clenched his hands tightly, preparing to launch a fatal blow. However, at this moment, a more powerful counter-shock force appeared on the rope tree. At this time, the rope tree seemed to float into the depths of consciousness. At this time, the evil haunted, forged by Nakaku appeared to have a choice from the armor itself. This is also the last skill of haunted by evil ghosts. The current rope tree can choose the power of protection or the power of killing. To choose the power of protection, you must rely on the evolutionary power of the armor itself to gather the power of the first generation between your eyebrows to continue fighting, and to choose to kill, you must completely devour the power of the first generation, to oneself. The latter may bring about irreversible changes, or it may completely lose oneself. Tyrant's power also took this opportunity to influence the rope tree, persuading the rope tree to swallow the power from first Hokage Senju Hashirama. In addition, countless friends and lovers died tragically in front of rope tree tonight. Shen Shu chose killing without hesitation. He wanted to kill all his enemies. Only now does Roshu truly understand that only with enough strength can one truly protect his companions. He needs strength. As the rope tree and Tyrant's will goals became consistent, the armor and the rope tree themselves frantically devoured the first generation power from the eyebrows, and the first generation power from the eyebrows also tried to seal the monster in front of them. Countless light blue chakra silk threads are wrapped around the rope tree. Kakuzu on the other side also had this familiar chakra, which made Kakuzu subconsciously want to run for his life. Kakuzu finally suppressed his inner fear. After all, the man had been dead for a long time. It's a pity that the light blue chakra silk thread is just a rootless root after all. Together with Naraku's forging and the constitution of the Senju family, Tyrant's ability to evolve infinitely is finally there. The power of the first generation was crazily eroded. As the rope tree gains a large amount of first generation power and Tyrant evolves rapidly, the hole in the rope tree's belly is also slowly but surely recovering. As the power of the first generation was swallowed up, the first generation gem between the eyebrows immediately shattered and turned into dots. It hurts. It hurts so much. Kakuzu's heart has never hurt so much. Don't wait for him to experience this pain. Suddenly, a heart-stopping suction force emerged from the rope tree, like a black hole, sucking everything around it into it. A large amount of natural energy rushed towards the rope tree like a tide, and was greedily devoured by him. Along with this devouring force, countless pieces of flesh and blood began to rapidly breed and spread on the rope tree, merging with his original body. At this moment, the rope tree's body gradually became larger, and it became increasingly difficult to distinguish it from the evil ghost-ridden armor. The two are closely integrated, as if they are integrated into one body. As natural energy continued to gather, a huge tyrant shadow slowly emerged in the sky. This phantom exudes a powerful aura, which makes people shocked. However, this is just the beginning. As time went by, Tyrant's shadow began to evolve, gradually showing a more powerful posture. This astonishing change attracted the attention of both sides who were fighting fiercely in the distance. They stopped what they were doing and their eyes were attracted by the strange sight here. Orochimaru, who was standing on the head of the snakes in the distance, looked at the shadow in the distance. Knowing that the rope tree was in danger, he anxiously urged the snakes to move forward. Unfortunately, the tail of the snake seemed to be stuck, and he said to Orochimaru, "I feel that there is a great danger ahead, why don't you go? I remembered that I still have a snake at home that I haven't eaten yet. Just leave first." Bang! After saying that, the snakes turned into smoke and disappeared. Orochimaru was not too angry about the departure of the snakes. He just jumped to a tall tree and looked into the distance, saying to himself, "Rope tree, I hope you are fine." Nakaku, what kind of terrifying armor is this? Why is there such a change? After that, Orochimaru left his clone to stop his teammates behind him, and then rushed to the center of the battlefield with all his strength. Kakuzu, who was standing there, felt unprecedented pressure at this time. His legs were trembling slightly involuntarily, as if they were the instinctive fear of creatures at the bottom of the food chain when facing apex predators. In just a moment, the rope tree in place had completely transformed into a huge mass of flesh, and the previous armor turned into pieces of hard scales, covering his body. In the end, an extremely terrifying green western dragon appeared in front of everyone, except that the dragon's neck was relatively short. This giant dragon has a huge body, covered with light green scales, shining with an icy light. Its eyes were like burning flames, revealing endless killing intent. This is the new form of, haunted by evil spirits, wooden dragon form. The giant dragon flapped its wings and flew up slowly. Seeing that the situation was not right, Kakuzu ran away. The dragon took a look at the current situation. The entire logistics department was almost slaughtered. Roar. With the dragon's first roar, the trees twitched and enveloped all the Konoha ninjas. Seeing the enemies wrapped in wood one after another and unable to be destroyed at all, no matter how stupid Iwa Ninja was at this time, they knew that the monster in front of them was beyond their ability to deal with. Run quickly. Why is the commander missing? Don't worry so much, run away. The Iwa ninjas fled in panic, but their efforts were doomed to be in vain. With the dragon's second roar, the earth began to tremble violently, and countless thick tree trunks emerged from the ground, rising like a forest. Some of these trees are like sharp spears, directly penetrating the Iwa ninja's body. Some are like huge cages, tightly wrapping the enemy inside. Either way, they quickly deprived the Iwa ninja of their lives. Just 10 seconds passed, and the originally noisy battlefield became silent, and all the rock ninjas were dead. However, this is not the end. The giant dragon in the sky seemed to have exhausted its last bit of strength. Its huge body could no longer support itself, soaring in the air and fell feebly to the ground. Bang! There was a loud noise, and the dragon fell heavily to the ground, raising a cloud of dust and broken wood. However, the power of Hashirama suddenly appeared on the surface of the giant dragon. It turned out to be the power of Hashirama before, and it was also affecting the evolution while being swallowed. At this time, facing the defenseless rope tree and tyrant, wood style entangled itself on the dragon's surface. Then it continued to shrink, and finally turned into a small person, which was the rope tree. Tyrant was unwilling to be suppressed by wood style again and transformed into a long sword. At this time, where the first generation necklace gem was placed before the long sword, a new energy crystal was lying quietly. As the wood that had previously wrapped the Konoha ninjas suddenly cracked, everyone came out of the wood. They stared blankly at the countless big trees around them and the corpses of enemies interspersed on them, showing great shock. Orochimaru rushed to the location where the dragon fell with all his strength. When Orochimaru saw the rope tree lying on the ground, his heart tightened, but when he felt the body temperature on the rope tree's chest and the slow and strong heartbeat, I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Only then did he look at the evil ghost haunting on the other side and murmured, "What kind of weapon are you?" Miyoko and Hisaishi, who came out from the middle of the wood, were surprised to find that their injuries seemed to have recovered. Miyazi looked at the rope tree lying on the ground and ran over with tears in her eyes. Orochimaru looked at the girl climbing on the rope tree and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Hisaishi rubbed his head and smiled innocently at Orochimaru. At the edge of the forest, a black line appeared in the moonlight with a mask that almost collapsed, crawling slowly but firmly towards the distance. At this time, Naraku was still sleeping soundly. The next day, Naraku found several system notifications. Bite. The rope tree's use of evil ghost haunting has reached an advanced level, and the talent is copied and activated. The Senju family's physique is intermediate. The rope tree's use of evil haunting has reached the top level, and the talent is copied and activated. The power of wood style is intermediate. Bite. The Senju rope tree evolves the A level, evil haunting, into S pseudo evil haunting wooden dragon. With the extraction of the power of wood style and the intermediate strength of the Senju clan's physique, they continuously poured into Naraku's body. Naraku clearly felt that a powerful force was spreading in his body. His muscles began to tighten and his bones creaked slightly, as if his entire body was undergoing a transformation. At the same time, Naraku's eyes also underwent strange changes. The originally black pupils turned into red Sharingans, and the Sharingans in the eye sockets began to rotate at an alarming speed. Naraku waited a little nervously. He knew that this was a sign that the Sharingan was about to evolve into the Mangekyo Sharingan. However, at this moment, Sharingan's speed suddenly slowed down, as if it lacked power. Naraku wasn't too disappointed. After all, he had really never suffered anything when he awakened Sharingan. Think about it, half of Toko's body is Baizetsu, he was a genius with double Magatama when he first awakened, and Sharingan was only awakened by the collapse scene of brother killing his lover. He knew that he was only one step away from Mangekyo now. As long as he gets stronger step by step, he will soon evolve into Mangekyo. Naraku looked at the sapling on his finger and murmured, "Shenshu, you really brought me a lot of surprises. Sure enough, haunted by evil spirits, is the most suitable for you. It seems that the haunting and wood style are fused together. You have also awakened the dragon form. Rope tree, you still have a bit of the protagonist aura about you. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha ha." At this moment, Naraku couldn't help but laugh like a sunny boy. That is to say, Naraku didn't know that Naoki had hit him hard before he passed out, causing all the Iwa Nin to be wiped out. Now Naraku's Shinigami temple is filled with the Iwa Nin brothers. The next day, Frontline Logistics Department. Although Konoha won a big victory yesterday, the atmosphere was not very lively. Because even if the rope tree shows its power, the logistics department is almost completely destroyed. Moreover, the great hero Noshu on the front line has been in a coma and has not yet awakened. It is precisely because of the complete destruction of the Iwa Ninja's sneak attack legion that the pressure on the entire Konoha has been greatly reduced. It can be said that since the Iwa Ninja's sneak attack failed, the Iwa Ninja has been silent. Now Konoha's only enemy on the battlefield in Rain Country is Tsunade. Orochimaru and Miyoko looked at Naoki, who was in a coma, and frowned. Although Orochimaru was not a medical ninja, he had much richer theoretical knowledge than Tsunade in terms of biotechnology. Orochimaru said to Miyako, "The rope tree should not be in danger now, but there are two different powers in his body that are merging with him. As long as he completes the fusion of this power, he should be able to wake up quickly. So you don't have to worry too much." And I also reported the situation on the front line back to the headquarters, and Tsunade should be here now. Quote, what Orochimaru did not tell Miyako was that there was a high possibility that the rope tree would die directly or become a true, vegetative state, due to the failure of energy fusion. It can be said that the current rope tree has no problems on the surface, but inside it is a violent chemical reactor, which may explode if not careful. In Konoha's office, a small theater was showing. Sarutobi Hiruzen shouted to Danzo, "Twice as much." No. But it was interrupted because of important information from the front line. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the information in his hand. The enemy had moved away from the mountain. Senju summoned armor. Senju could face a powerful enemy alone. It was also possible for Senju to rely on his, haunted by evil spirits. It is the power of the first-generation necklace on the armor that transforms into a dragon. Summons wood style to protect teammates and kills all enemies. Rope tree is unconscious and needs medical treatment. After reading it, Hiruzen Sarutobi put down the information and began to think. Danzo looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen's changing expression and picked up the information on the table. Danzo's expression also kept changing according to the content of the information. Taigu actually has this power, and the Naoki combined with the demon haunting actually exerted a power comparable to the first Hokage. You must know the strength of the Naoki himself. In Danzo's opinion, it was just a chunin at best. And Danzo, who has the 8th Taigu, feels that his current strength is only a little stronger than Hiruzen at best, and the increase in strength is not that big. Is this caused by the difference between the Taigu? Or is it caused by my own lack of use? Woolen cloth. But these are not important, and it is not too late to explore them later. Danzo changed his target instantly and said to Sarutobi Hiruzen, "Now that the rope tree has mastered the power of wood style, we will directly send troops to declare war on the other 4 major countries. Directly rely on the power of wood style to fight for the interests of Konoha." Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was still thinking about how to calm down the matter, was shocked when he heard Danzo's shocking speech. Sarutobi Hiruzen's surprised eyes seemed to say, "Little brother, are you so brave?" Sarutobi Hiruzen also immediately refused and said, "Whether the rope tree can wake up is a question. It is still uncertain whether the power of wood style lies in the rope tree himself or in the armor. The most important thing is to conquer other big countries by force alone. This, how much death and war will it bring? In the end, it was backlashed by the entire ninja world, and even if Konoha became the only ninja village in the ninja world, it would not be able to survive." In Danzo's view, Sarutobi Hiruzen was worried about his Hokage position at this time, so he could say such high-sounding words. Danzo, who had many confrontations with Sarutobi Hiruzen, changed his target again. Then give me the armor of the evil ghost. As a Taigu user, I can completely use this power to do things for Konoha. At this time, Danzo didn't know that under normal circumstances, a person can only use one Taigu. Of course, as long as he can withstand the consumption and the matching is appropriate, he can still use two Taigu at the same time. No, Sarutobi Hiruzen refused again. He was not too senior. He doubted that if the armor he handed over to Danzo today, Danzo would come to him tomorrow to persuade him to abdicate in favor of someone more worthy. Finally, Danzo said slowly, the situation is so tense now. I'm worried that other ninja villages will besiege Konoha. This is when we need intelligence and deterrence. I need to increase the funding of the route. At least double. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had repeatedly rejected Danzo, was no longer embarrassed to refuse his old friend's seemingly reasonable request this time, so he nodded in agreement. Danzo finally left Sarutobi Hiruzen's office with a gloomy face, thinking that the goal he came for today was achieved. As for Wood Style's power, with the funds and first-generation cells, why can't he go to Naraku and make another weapon? Tsunade, who was about to go to the casino to gamble for fun, looked at Anbu in front of her. Anbu said, Tsunade-sama, Hokage-sama has something important to ask you. It's about the rope tree. In Iwagakure's office, Onoki threw the document in his hand directly on the table. He knew every word on the document, but he didn't recognize it when they were put together. What is a sneak attack mission? The main battlefield has always been a crushing force, killing hundreds of people in the Konoha logistics department. The battle to hunt down the Senju rope tree continued to drag on until the commander-in-chief Titu arrived some time later. A terrifying phantom appeared in the sky, and finally a terrifying dragon appeared. He just roared twice and countless wood rushed towards the Iwa ninja, but Tetsudo didn't appear until the end. In the end, the intelligence officer used secret techniques to pass back this precious information before he died. According to Onoki's guess, there should be an accident on Senju's mission, which forced Senju's trump card, or Konoha's trump card. No matter how Onoki breaks his mind, he can't think of it. Kakuzu transformed into a legendary trainer and used powerful ninjutsu with different attributes to increase the ability to haunt evil spirits. In the end, he was suspected of killing Rope Tree's lover and elders and irritating Rope Tree, spirit. Finally, let the Rope Tree complete the explosion. Enter Kakuzu, the most famous teacher and trainer in the ninja world. He needs more information, and the ones closest to the truth should be the mercenary Kakuzu who has been fighting the Rope Tree and Tetsudo who is on his way, of course provided that they are still alive. It can be said that half of the Iwa ninjas in the Rain Kingdom battlefield were lost there, and after that battle, their morale plummeted. There is no way to fight now. Onoki ordered his subordinate Anbu. The battlefield of the Kingdom of Rain is fully rested. In addition, a high price was offered for the information about the mercenary who killed the Rope Tree before. And the information about someone in Konoha who mastered the power of wood style was informed to the entire ninja world. Quote, Third Raikage I looked at Onoki's announcement and couldn't help but laugh. It seems that Onoki is in trouble this time. But is it true or not that someone in Konoha has mastered the power of wood style? The name of a person is the shadow of a tree. Third Raikage although I has not seen the power of Senju Hashirama with his own eyes, he still has a certain respect for the power of wood style mastered by the god of the ninja world. So he also arranged for his men to explore the information. At this time, Wang was still huddled in the village and didn't know what he was busy with. He didn't care about the things outside at all. The tragic defeat of the Iwa ninja frontline and the possibility that someone in Konoha had information about wood style frightened Tsunade. At this time, Chio, who was still charming, discussed with the third-generation Kazekage and decided to wait and see what happened and get the information. Tsunade was very worried, but she said to Hiruzen Sarutobi calmly, Old man, what's the matter about the rope tree? Has he made a meritorious service? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Tsunade seriously and said, Tsunade, Naoki has indeed made great contributions this time, but I am unconscious due to serious injuries. At this time, Tsunade could no longer maintain a superficial smile. She said to Sarutobi Hiruzen, Isn't there an evil spirit haunting the rope tree? Why is it still like this? Did you give him a chunin and arrange for him to do it? It's an impossible task. At this time, Jiraiya patted Tsunade on the shoulder to comfort her. Later, Sarutobi Hiruzen informed Tsunade of the specific situation on the front line. After thinking for a while, Tsunade thought of a person who might be able to save the rope tree. Naraku. Naraku. Maybe Naraku can solve this situation. Third generation, as long as you arrange for Naraku to go to the front line, you may be able to save the rope tree. Tsunade said to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt his apprentice's eyes, but Naraku was too important to Konoha. All I can say is, Naraku is an important blacksmith in Konoha. Konoha cannot live without Naraku. I can allow you to ask Naraku. If he is willing to go, you can take him there, but Jiraiya, you have to go with him. You must ensure Naraku's safety. Jiraiya asked from the side. In this case, can you bring the rope tree back from the front line? Noseki is seriously injured now. If he is brought back from the front line, he may not be able to hold on. The previous war attracted too much attention. There are no powerful ninjas and military protection. I'm afraid. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head and said. Naraku, Naoki is now unconscious due to excessive use of evil spirits. Although it is very presumptuous, I would like to ask you to go to the front line with me to save Naoki. Jiraiya and I will ensure your safety. What do you want? I can satisfy you. After saying that, Tsunade bowed to Naraku. Naraku, who was practicing ninjutsu alone, looked at the big boy in front of him. Oh, this white boy has really big breasts. Bah, this big boy has really big breasts. Bah. Naraku shook his head to shake some unclean images out of his 9-year-old mind. As soon as Naraku shook something out, he heard the words, "You can do whatever you want." Naraku thought, what if he asked Tsunade to give him a child? Suddenly a white-haired man appeared in Naraku's mind. Evil Uchiha brat. You actually want to marry little Tsunade and have a bunch of children. Look, I'll kill you right away. The rope tree is my old customer, and I also created the evil ghost. Of course I can go. If you ask, then please ask Tsunade-sama to accept me as your disciple. Naraku said to Tsunade with a smile, as if he had just been obscene. All ideas are what others think. Although Tsunade was surprised that Naraku made this request, she still said, if you are interested in medical ninjutsu and my taijutsu, of course there is no problem. So, Tsunade and Naraku agreed to set off in the afternoon. In fact, Naraku's decision to leave the village this time was also for the sake of the dimensional phalanx, because he wanted to leave some marks outside Konoha so that if the planetary devastation hits Konoha one day, it would be easier for him to escape. And he was also curious to what extent the current haunting of evil spirits had evolved. Naraku, who was preparing to press the mark in Konoha as usual, suddenly thought of the ultimate move of his dimensional square, which was the so-called exile to the end of the world. Maybe you can try it yourself with Shadow Clone. So Naraku found a deserted grove. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 3 clones appeared in front of Naraku, and Naraku patted clone number 1 on the shoulder. Clone number 1 gave the middle finger in return and nodded in agreement. As a huge Tai Chi symbol appeared at the feet of clone No. 1, clone number 1 headed to the end of the world in a heroic gesture with the middle finger raised. Naraku waited specifically for 5 minutes before releasing the shadow clone. At this time, Naraku sensed the information brought by the sacrifice of clone number 1. The so-called end of the world has no gravity and no land, but there is light and even air. Naraku was completely confused about this, but he thought that the original version of the dimensional phalanx weapon seemed to be like this, and it was understandable to be like this when he came to the ninja world. After all, the moon in the ninja world seems to have the same gravity as the ninja world, and there is air. In short, this cannot be considered based on the scientific view of the previous world. After understanding what the so-called end of the world was, Naraku wondered if he could use the end of the world as a relatively private storage space. However, he now has system space anyway. The main reason is that the system space is still enough, so Naraku decided that even if the end of the world can be used, he will store some sundries. As for turning this thing into a shelter, Naraku decided to try again if there would be any additional risks if it took longer. Naraku saluted the two clones, and the two clones raised their middle fingers to Naraku in return. So clones number 2 and number 3 were sent to the end of the world together, so they had a companion. Since he didn't know how many days the clone could survive, Naraku planned to continue pretending to run to install some marks on various corners of Konoha. Naraku simply took two beauties, Uchiha Makoto and Uchiha Hoshiki, for a run in Konoha. Naraku looked at the two beauties in front of him, wondering if it was his illusion. Perhaps due to the relatively sufficient nutrition of the two of them recently, especially the blessing of Poseidon and food processing methods, the height of the two began to change rapidly. Running to the edge of the village, Naraku casually put a mark on a bush. What Naraku didn't know was that the last unlucky guy who appeared here had been killed by Danzo as a spy. Soon it was afternoon, so Naraku went to the front line with Jiraiya and Tsunade. Rain Country, Rain Shinobi Village, Sansho Hanzo's office. Sanshoyu Hanzo looked at the destruction and casualties on the list sent by his subordinates, and slammed the table angrily. In the villages of the three great kingdoms of Konoha, Iwagakure, and Tsunade, fights are not fought on their own territory. They all went to the Kingdom of Rain to fight, but the war between them brought a devastating blow to the Kingdom of Rain. Many residential areas turned into war zones, residents had no choice but to move away, and a large number of civilians or Rain Shinobi village ninjas died in the war. Sanshoyu Hanzo had also condemned these big countries before, but now it seems that these ninja villages have no intention of restraining themselves. Especially the recent War of Wooden Dragon, because Naoki transformed into Wooden Dragon and killed all the invading Iwa ninja. This war was called War of Wooden Dragon by Konoha. The Wooden Dragon directly turned a large number of residential areas into a forest, and this forest seemed strange. In just a few days, many beasts and poisonous insects appeared in it. The climate there now is a rainforest, which is not suitable for human survival at all. If you want to cut down all the trees, it will cost a lot of manpower and financial resources. But Sanshoyu Hanzo also couldn't understand the specific situation of the Wooden Dragon in Konoha now. He also considered that the Iwa ninja had been defeated one after another recently, and the Iron Country next to him was in chaos and had a group of ninjas. Tsunade is one of the weakest ninja villages among the great ninja villages. So he made a bold decision, that is, to declare war on the three major countries of Iron Country, Konoha, and Tsunade at the same time. This also means that he is very confident in his own strength. After finishing his thinking, Sansho Hanzo slowly said to his subordinates, the war between the great powers has caused devastating damage to our Rain Country. It is announced to the outside world that the Rain Country has decided to attack the three great powers of Iron Country, Konoha and Tsunade at the same time. Declare war. Quote, his subordinates were also very surprised by Hanzo's idea, but they still looked at Hanzo with admiration and said, as expected of Hanzo-sama. If it is Hanzo-sama, he will definitely be able to defeat those big countries. Sansho Hanzo thought, let this war let the ninja world see the strength of Sansho Hanzo. Come and see the strength of our Rain Country. Even if it is a small country, it is not something that big countries like you can insult at will. With Sansho Hanzo's declaration of war, it caused an uproar in the entire ninja world. No small country has ever had the guts to declare war on a big country, and to declare war on two big countries at the same time. The small countries in the entire ninja world are either dependent on a single big country, or they are just on the sidelines. Now Sanshoyu Hanzo has set a precedent by declaring war on a big country. But the great powers did not take this matter seriously. The one who reacted the most was the Iron Kingdom. The Iron Kingdom obviously did not participate in the war between the three major powers, but Sanshoyu Hanzo declared war on the Iron Kingdom. In the Kingdom of Iron, the samurai Mafune, who was already somewhat famous and well-known at this time, was having a meeting with samurai of the same level. Obviously it was you who arranged for your men to secretly go to the Kingdom of Rain to plunder while the war in the Kingdom of Rain was taking place. This led Hanzo to declare war on us, the Kingdom of Iron. Humph. You didn't go, how did you know I went? You are so slanderous. You're the one who spits so much. Mafune watched as the samurai with a small status in the Iron Country were blaming each other, but no one was willing to reflect on their mistakes and unite to fight against the enemy. Of course, it's also possible that they don't want to deal with Sanshoyu Hanzo, so they are blaming each other here, hoping that someone else will stand up. Mafune now understood that the people in front of him could not save Iron Country, so Mafune stood up and left without saying a word. Someone saw Mafune leaving and asked, "Mafune, where are you going?" Mafune said without looking back, "I'm going to find a way to truly save the Iron Kingdom, and unite the heroes who are truly willing to save the Iron Kingdom." Faced with Mafune's ridicule, some people started to curse directly. Why are you looking for a real way to save the Iron Kingdom? I think you just ran away because you were scared. That's right, what qualifications does Mafune have to criticize us? And watching Mafune leave, a small group of people followed him. In the courtyard at this time, Mafune was swinging his sword vigorously. Every swing carried his determination and strength. However, he was not satisfied with the power of his sword. He chopped down the trees in front of him one after another, as if to vent your dissatisfaction. Mafune held the handle of the knife tightly, closed his eyes, concentrated on feeling the chakra flowing in his body, and then poured it into the blade continuously. When he opened his eyes again, his eyes were filled with determination and determination. With a roar, Mafune swung his sword with all his strength. The sharp sword energy released by this sword cut through the air like a bolt of lightning and instantly hit the big tree in front of him. The huge impact force made the tree trunk unable to withstand it, and it was split into two halves. Mafune slowly put away the knife, sighed softly, and shook his head slightly. Although he had tried his best, the effect of this knife was still limited. He realized that even if he went all out, he could only chop down a big tree. This destructive power is equivalent to some C-rank ninjutsu of ninjas. There are not many warriors who can reach his level. That is to say, the destructive power of Chunin from a ninja village can rival some high-level or even top-level warriors. Stronger ninjas are even more powerful than many samurai. That is to say, the samurai's sword skills do not require sealing, but it is still far behind when faced with ninjas, especially top ninjas who can quickly form seals and shorten the number of times they need to form seals. Kozaki Kisame, except, he is an honest man. Mafune looked at the sky in despair, and sighed in his heart, is there really nothing that can help the Iron Country resist Sancho Hanzo and resist the invasion of ninjas? If the strength of the samurai themselves is not enough to resist, what external objects can be used? Mafune, who was looking at the sky, suddenly thought of Uchiha Naraku, the Konoha blacksmith who has recently become famous in the ninja world. Perhaps he can ask this blacksmith to point out a clear path for the samurai in the ninja world. Moreover, samurai don't have as many fancy ninjutsu as ninjas, but the various skills on Naraku's forged ninjutsu can make up for this. Mafune was also a resolute man. He packed up his belongings and set out on his way to Konoha to find Naraku. This was also his search for the future of the samurai. Since Kakuzu escaped from the Battle of Wooden Dragon, he finally had 5 hearts again, but Kakuzu found out. Recently, some gangsters have come to attack him from time to time. This made him distressed and a little happy at the same time. After all, these young people usually have bounties. Kakuzu came to the black market and prepared to start his money-making life again. Although the previous mission failed, he still had to make money. He made up his mind to find an opportunity to steal the gem when he became stronger. Despite the weird looks from the black market staff, Kakuzu reached for the black market bounty directory. Kakuzu flipped through 2 pages and then stopped. Kakuzu, identity bounty hunter, can provide the latest trace of this person and reward 1 million taels. If this person can be captured alive and sent to the black market of the land of Earth, he will be rewarded 40 million taels. Kakuzu thought to himself, this should be because Iwa Ninja wanted to know the specific situation of the previous Wooden Dragon battle, so he offered a reward to me. Don't let my reward be earned by Xiao Xiao's gang. Just tell me my address and I will be rewarded with 1 million taels. This money is so profitable. After Kakuzu exchanged the previous heads for money, he ran towards the Kingdom of Earth. Kakuzu, who came to the Iwa Ninja black market, pointed to his reward and said to the black market staff, I want to receive the reward. The staff responded politely, do you know Kakuzu's information or did you kidnap Kakuzu? Kakuzu said impatiently, I am Kakuzu. If you want to know anything, just ask me. So just give me my bounty. The staff always felt that the fool in front of him was here to cause trouble, So he was ready to ask the last polite question. Then do you have any evidence to prove that you are Kakuzu? Then what evidence do you have to prove that you are Kakuzu? Then what evidence do you have to prove that you are Kakuzu? Then what evidence do you have to prove that you are Kakuzu? This sentence echoed in Kakuzu's mind. He has lived for so many years. I encountered this rude and ridiculous inquiry once. That is to say, Kakuzu has never lived in a modern society. Otherwise, how to prove that you are you and how to prove that your father is also common. After thinking about it during the day, Kakuzu took out the only thing that could prove his identity, Gu. Kakuzu's Gu directly strangled the neck of the staff and said, "Can you prove my identity now?" The black market guard next to him was still trying to solve the trouble, but was instantly knocked away by the earth resentment U on Kakuzu's other hand. The staff member hurriedly nodded regardless of whether it was true or false. Later, he carefully compared the reward information. Appearance, clothing, and name are easy to fake, but secret skills are not easy to fake. In particular, there seems to be no earth resentment U mastered by the second person in the entire ninja world. The staff handed Kakuzu 40 million taels and asked cautiously, "Then you will go to Iwagakure village with me later?" Kakuzu glanced at the staff while counting the money and said, "The reward mission is to capture him alive and send him to the Iwagakure black market. I am in the black market now. So my mission has been completed. I never said I must go to Iwagakure village." Although Kakuzu likes money, he is not a person who cares about money at all costs. What's more, he has already received his money. The staff was afraid that they would be beaten to death by their boss later, so they could only bravely ask Kakuzu, "Then why don't you wait here for the people from Iwagakure village? I can ask you by the way. Is that okay?" Kakuzu, who was counting the money, said, "Okay. But you have to finish asking before I finish counting the money, otherwise I will leave. My time is very valuable." Onoki looked at the mysteriously dressed man in front of him. Only the eyes were exposed on his whole body, and there was a tacky nin's forehead protector on his head. Since Tetsudo and Kakuzu were handovers before, Onoki and others had never seen Kakuzu. To Onoki, these bounty hunters were just wild dogs that could be obtained with a little money, so they didn't care about this and usually just handed over Kakuzu. "Arranged for my subordinates." But the information this time is very important. Not only did the frontline troops die in large numbers, but Wood Style also appeared, so he was prepared to handle it personally. Onoki asked himself, "Are you really Kakuzu?" Kakuzu said word by word, "I am Kakuzu, if you have any questions, please ask." Onoki laughed directly at Kakuzu's attitude of asking for money rather than his life. He pressed the button and wanted to teach Kakuzu a lesson and said, "What happened that night?" Kakuzu also responded unceremoniously, "I accepted the reward for killing the Senju rope tree, so I prepared to kill the Senju rope tree alone that day, so I fought with the Senju rope tree alone. Speaking of you Iwagakure, the intelligence I received is really rubbish. I used the 5 escape techniques of fire, wind, thunder, earth, and water to attack a guy with what you call Chunin strength, hitting him multiple times. But the armored rope tree, like the monster of immune to death, stood up again and again. I also found that the same ninjutsu seemed to have less and less effect on the armor. Later I started to use a combination of 2 attributes, ninjutsu or immune to death. You Iwagakure's iron earth and the Chunin rope tree can't even beat me in close combat. You actually only offered a reward of 20 million for such a powerful armor. I think this reward is too low. In the end, I used the 3 attributes of wind, fire, and thunder to form a combined ninjutsu, and then I opened a hole in the monster's belly." Hearing this, everyone in Iwagakure, including Onoki, was surprised, if he hadn't lied. The strength of the person in front of me is also very terrifying. You must know that dust style is the fusion of 3 attributes chakra. Also, I don't know if it's the Senju rope tree or the armor's defensive power that's too terrifying. But it must be because of the armor. The armor was finally broken. Later I was going to exchange the prey for the bounty, but at this time the prey suddenly had a counter-shock force that shook my hand away, and the armor started to evolve along with the Senju rope tree. As if, slowly turning into a giant dragon. Amidst the dragon's roar, countless pieces of wood began to chase me, but I managed to escape with great difficulty. After Onoki confirmed that Kakuzu had finished speaking, he quickly used dust style. Kakuzu was unaware and was cut into a large piece of meat. When the angry Kakuzu was about to attack Onoki, Onoki said, "I need to test your strength to make sure you are not lying. We can cooperate more in the future." Kakuzu snorted and stiffly agreed, and he did hide a little information, such as Tetsudo may have died under his ninjutsu. Onoki also hurried back later. It wasn't that he didn't want to take action against Kakuzu and asked more questions, but that he really wasn't particularly sure. Onoki, who returned to the village, thought about it for a while, and immediately ordered the truth about the wooden dragon battle to be revealed, and exaggerated the role of the armor. And the reward for capturing Uchiha Naraku alive was increased to 400 million ryo. Since there are generally no bounties for Kage in each village, Naraku directly became the man with the highest bounty in the entire ninja world. The last step is to persuade the ninja world to take action against Konoha, otherwise everyone will die when Uchiha Naraku forges more powerful weapons. Naraku, who rushed to the front line with Jiraiya and Tsunade, didn't know that he had now become the bounty king. Standing at the top of the entire ninja world, Naraku looked at the rope tree lying quietly on the hospital bed being treated by Tsunade, with the affectionate Miyoko beside him, and he vaguely felt how big a flag the rope tree had been carrying before. Later, Naraku saw the evil ghost next to him again. With the passive perception of Naraku's weapon kingship, he realized that the evil ghost had evolved tremendously and contained many terrifying powers. In particular, there was a powerful and domineering life force that seemed to have a touch of green. Naraku knew that it should be the power of wood style. After trying for a while, Tsunade looked at Naraku eagerly, wanting Naraku to see if there was a good way to rescue the rope tree. Naraku walked to Naoshu's bed and felt the specific situation inside Naoshu's body at close range, and found that the current situation inside Naoshu's body was really lively. The 5 forces of wood style, Tyrant, pure natural energy, the life force of the body, and impurity energy are entangled, confronted, and integrated in the rope tree. Naraku once again felt that the rope tree had a lot of life, and Naraku began to think about how to solve the rope tree's situation. The curse seal commonly used in his Taigu can directly refine these 5 kinds of power, but this extraction will directly refine the rope tree himself into the essence. Naraku thought evilly that if he refined the rope tree and directly integrated it into the evil haunting, would it directly allow the evil haunting to evolve into a real S-class weapon. Of course, Naraku is not a devil, and now his personal life is also there was no threat, and Naoshu was Naraku's beloved relative and friend, as well as his future brother-in-law. Naraku has also established a huge bond with the rope tree. But even if such a good method is thought of, it cannot be wasted. Now there is too much energy in the rope tree's body, causing the rope tree to be unable to control it. As long as the extraction is slow and fixed, this problem should be solved. Of course, the balance needs to be controlled during this process. This balance can only be grasped by Naraku. As for the tool to extract power, the evil ghost haunted, next to him who is dissatisfied with desires as the best tool. Similarly, only Naraku's passive weapon royal power can make the evil ghost haunted cooperate obediently. If this job were replaced by someone else, even if it was Shungshu himself, evil ghost haunted would not listen to him 100%. The relationship between other people and Naraku's weapons is more of a collaborator, while the relationship between Naraku and the weapons is that of master and slave. So Naraku turned to Tsunade and said, "The power in the rope tree is too complex. I can use the curse seal to temporarily control the evil haunting to extract those powers. I think it is enough once a week until the life of the rope tree body is reached. When the power can control those powers, it should be able to wake up. In addition, I also need to forge a prop to temporarily suppress the energy in the rope tree to ensure that the rope tree will not have any accidents due to the buffer period after the energy extraction is completed. But once this prop is put on, it must not be taken off. Otherwise the rope tree will easily die suddenly, and even if it does not die suddenly on the spot, it is very likely that it will never wake up again." After hearing Naraku's words, everyone present relaxed a little, but Tsunade still confirmed again and again. After receiving Naraku's confirmation, she hugged Naraku excitedly. "I gave Naraku a facial cleanser on the spot." Naraku originally refused this kind of facial cleanser, mainly because it would cause difficulty breathing. But considering that Tsunade gave herself facial cleanser because her younger brother could be rescued, the huge psychological pressure was released, and the psychological joy could not be shared. Naraku could only feed the tiger with his body to enjoy this pain alone, while Jiraiya next to him almost stared at the ground. Until a minute later, Tsunade felt the masculine scent on the tip of her nose and the heat of Naraku's breath transmitted to her chest, and couldn't help but blush a little. Tsunade then let go of Naraku. Naraku felt a little unsatisfied, but his face was full of righteousness. It's hard to see any flaws, after all, he is just a 9-year-old child now. Then Naraku pretended to find a place to forge props, and Naraku took out a sensor from the system space. This is a small item he got from a lottery draw before. If Naraku hadn't asked the system before, Naraku wouldn't have known that he actually had this thing. With this sensor, Naraku can know whether the small props are moved or damaged. In fact, this little prop was just for Naraku to have some bad taste. He wanted to see if anyone would try to harm Naoshu while he was lying on the bed. This would also satisfy Naraku's curiosity. The death of the rope tree in the original work of Hokage is a bit strange, but the original work does not explain whether it was caused by someone else, so Naraku decided to do an experiment. After finishing making the props, Naraku returned to the ward and kicked everyone out. After placing the small prop on Naoki's head, he directly picked up the evil haunting in his hand. This was the second time Naraku picked up this weapon since he sent the weapon away. At this time, the haunting of evil spirits can be said to be a shotgun exchange for a cannon. Naraku placed the evil ghost haunting on the rope tree, and then controlled the evil ghost haunting to devour the power in the rope tree. Evil ghost haunting mainly swallows the impurity energy in the rope tree, because this kind of power is generally relatively disordered. But while swallowing the power of impurities, the scales in the rope tree also began to move. Naraku let the evil ghost haunt swallow up a little bit of other power. Half an hour later, Naraku nodded with satisfaction. Because under Naraku's control, the rope tree can last for at least a month, but Naraku won't tell Tsunade. Mainly for the safety of my brother-in-law and to have more contact with Tsunade from time to time. After Naraku heard about the anomalies in the forest caused by the rope tree transforming into a dragon, he came to the forest out of curiosity to have a look. As soon as he arrived in the forest, Naraku felt a lot of Tyrant's power inside. Naraku finally understood that when the rope tree turned into a dragon, Tyrant's power also played a role simultaneously, causing the forest to become weird. In other words, the creatures in this forest have become weird. According to Naraku's assumptions, this forest may even produce some dangerous species in the future. As soon as Naraku returned to the logistics, he was told that his bounty on the black market had been doubled and he had to go back quickly. In this way, Naraku's first journey out of the village ended, and it was at this time that Naraku discovered that he had become the man with the highest bounty in the ninja world. Later, Naraku went back with Tsunade Jiraiya and Nogeki Miyoko. This was thanks to Naraku controlling the evil haunting to swallow up a little energy and stabilize the energy. Tsunade treated some of the injuries in Nashu's body, so that it was possible for Nashu to be transported back to Konoha. Naraku, who was running back, suddenly stumbled and almost fell off the tree. Tsunade immediately came over to support Naraku and said, "Are you okay?" Naraku shook his head and said it was okay. Just now, his two shadow clone disappeared due to exhaustion of chakra. After Clone 2 and Clone 3 arrived at the so-called end of the world, they were still excited to explore this space at first. Then it was discovered that this space is just like a space with air, suitable temperature and suitable light. The two clones quickly lost interest, and then they played cards in space for 2 days. Naraku was staggered just now because a lot of useless information was poured into his mind, especially when Naraku found out that his two clones actually cheated at cards. What a shame. Naraku was simply ashamed to be with them. However, this also shows that it is safe to release creatures in different spaces for a short period of time during the 2.5 days that the clone is there. Naraku and the others drove on for a while, when suddenly Jiraiya stopped, raised his palms and said, "Stop." After that, everyone also felt something was wrong, and soon a group of bounty hunters with malicious intentions appeared in front of everyone, surrounding a few people. The leader of the bounty hunter said to everyone with evil intentions, "You came out of the Konoha camp. If you tell me specific information about the Senju rope tree, I can consider letting you go." The bounty hunter next to him patted his elder brother. At this time, the leader of the bounty hunter looked at the rope tree lying on Jiraiya's back and said, "I came here to find some information to sell, but I didn't expect that I picked up a big one for nothing. I'm in such a hurry. I was rushing to Konoha. Is Senju no Shu dying soon? Or is he planning to go to the rear to recuperate? Brothers, we've made a lot of money." Just when everyone was at war with each other, there was also a smart bounty hunter who quietly retreated behind everyone and protected them in front of him. Originally, this group of people wanted to catch 1 or 2 Konoha ninjas who had slipped through the net, ask for information and then sell them to the black market. As long as they were not unlucky, this kind of mission was not very dangerous. But now that the rope tree has lost its combat effectiveness, the strength of the ninjas next to the rope tree must be extremely terrifying. Then Jiraiya handed over the rope tree on his back to Naraku, and then Jiraiya and Tsunade got into a stance and prepared to kill the enemy. Naraku handed the rope tree to Miyoko again, and put a mark on the rope tree. He was ready to expand his limited combat experience. Seeing the incomprehensible expressions on the two people's faces, Naraku said confidently, "Leave these miscellaneous fish to me. I just want to practice my skills." The two of them were still a little worried about this, but Naraku didn't give them a chance to stop it. He just went up with the knife in hand. In fact, Naraku has absolute confidence. After all, he has dimensional space guarantees, and in terms of genjutsu, he also has Sanmagatama and wood style. Even if he is seriously injured accidentally, Naraku's own physique has been copied from the Senju clan's intermediate physique due to his previous talent. He is more resistant and has excellent recovery ability. Next to her was Tsunade and the evil haunting in her hand. So this battle can only be considered a win as long as the trump card is not exposed. Several bounty hunters couldn't help but feel angry when they saw Naraku rushing over so boldly, and they immediately attacked Naraku. However, Naraku showed amazing speed and sensitivity. At the moment the attack came, he instantly used the teleportation technique to avoid the enemy's shuriken attack. One of the ninjas targeted by Naraku realized that he had become a target, and he hurriedly began to form seals in an attempt to interrupt Naraku's attack rhythm. However, Naraku's movements were too fast. After using the lightning-style chakra to stimulate his body, it flashed across his body like a bolt of lightning. This ninja didn't even have time to complete the seal before he was severely split in half by Naraku using evil haunting. Maybe it was because Naraku killed an enemy for the second time. Naraku only felt a little sick, but more from the excitement of the battle. Seeing how powerful Naraku's sword skills were, Jiraiya and Tsunade stopped trying to stop him. Instead, he stared at Naraku closely, ready to provide support at any time if something went wrong. The bounty hunters were also frightened by Naraku's sword skills, and they all tried to distance themselves from Naraku. Naraku took this opportunity to quickly form a seal. Fire-style extinguishing fire. As Naraku completed the seal, a powerful flame spurted out from his mouth. Although Naraku is not the best in chakra control, with a chakra reserve of up to 10 cards, the power of this ninjutsu is still amazing. The fire that was extinguished by the powerful fire spread quickly, instantly involving a few unlucky people. At the same time, Naraku also accomplished an achievement that was almost never seen in the original work, which is to use fire style to kill people. However, at this moment, Naraku suddenly realized that this ninjutsu had a fatal flaw: it was more suitable for use in open areas. If you continue to release the powerful fire to extinguish it, the burning flames will spread to yourself. After realizing this, Naraku decisively interrupted ninjutsu to avoid a possible embarrassing situation. After all, if you let yourself be swallowed up by the sea of fire, it would be really a shame to go around in circles. Seeing the bounty hunters fleeing in all directions, Naraku directly used the shadow clone technique and created 10 clones to chase after them. Naraku's body was chasing the leading ninja just now. As Naraku approached, the leading ninja became more and more panicked. He didn't dare to form seals to defend or attack like the stunned Ching just now. He just tried his best to use the ninja sword in his hand to look at Naraku. A second later, the leading ninja watched in shock as the weapon in his hand was cut off like tofu, and then his body was also split in half, with blood splattering in the air, forming a bloody and shocking picture. The bounty hunters who had not run far away saw this scene and made new breakthroughs in their already extreme running speed. Sure enough, people's potential is forced out. The battle was over soon. Naraku counted and found that he had just let go of 3 miscellaneous fish. Naraku also discovered his own shortcomings through this battle, that is, the conventional attack ninjutsu and defense ninjutsu were insufficient. For example, when the enemy used shuriken just now, he found that he did not have a particularly good defensive ninjutsu. He can't channel triple Rashomon just for a few shurikens. In terms of attack, in addition to the powerful fire extinguisher, the only other ones are Great Fireball, which is mainly used to block the enemy's position. Ninjutsu. Naraku plans to enrich his ninjutsu mastery after returning to Konoha this time, and Naraku already has 3 Magatama Sharingan plus full attribute chakra. Finally, there is the terrifying amount of chakra. As long as Naraku wants to, Kakashi's copy ninja title can be easily taken away by Naraku. Finally, the tactics are not in place, but Naraku himself does not have many ninjutsu, so there are not many areas for optimization in tactics. In the end, it was due to lack of experience. Although Naraku had never seen Hatake Tsukumo kill anyone, he always felt that he would not be like him, the kind who easily cuts people in half and spills their intestines all over the floor. At this time, Tsunade also remembered that she seemed to have agreed to be Naraku's teacher, so she said to Naraku, "Your fighting ability is already very powerful in the ninja school, and the ability you just showed is already comparable to elite chunin. But there are still some problems, and the fighting style is too immature. I will train you well when we return to Konoha." Naraku also said seriously, "Then thank the teacher in advance for your training." Jiraiya next to him always felt that the two people were talking strangely. Jiraiya reflected that maybe he was too dirty and looked dirty in everything, so he consciously carried the rope tree on his back. Later, out of fear of being attacked again, everyone speeded up and reached Konoha safely. Naraku glanced back. He couldn't help but leave marks everywhere along the way. Since the route he took was not exactly the same as when he came here, this meant that Naraku had 2 escape routes that he might use in the future. Naraku learned the news when he first arrived in Konoha. Shin told him that there was a samurai from the Kingdom of Iron who asked to see him and had been squatting in front of the store for many days. Naraku was also curious about who was so anxious to see him. After all, many ninjas came to him to beg him for forging. This was the first time that a samurai wanted to see him. When Mafune saw Naraku in front of him, he quickly stepped forward respectfully, bowed deeply, and said in greeting, "Lord Naraku. Please save the Kingdom of Iron." Naraku was also stunned by this formation, and then said, "This is not the place to talk, let's find another place." After Mafune talked about it, Naraku finally understood the whole story. To put it bluntly, Mafune wanted to use the power of Naraku's weapons to resist the invasion of Hanzo the Sancho fish in the Land of Rain. Naraku recalled the original work and how the Iron Country at that time dealt with Hanzo's invasion. It seemed that it was the Mafune in front of him who refused to retreat and was willing to sacrifice himself for his companions that moved Hanzo, so Hanzo helped Mafune detoxify, and stated that he would no longer invade the Kingdom of Iron. Naraku suspected that even if he told Mafune this method, Mafune would not believe it. It's like a certain country said one day that it needs to transform a small place for the sake of freedom and democracy, and oil happened to be dug up in that small place. Naraku really didn't understand what Sancho Hanzo was thinking. If it was to expand his territory, he could attack the small countries around him. The Kingdom of Iron and the Kingdom of Rain were directly separated by half the distance from the Kingdom of Fire. Moreover, the climate of the Kingdom of Iron is similar to that of Siberia, with a world of ice and snow, a harsh natural environment, and a lack of resources. This country has an advantageous overall geographical location near the sea, making it easy to defend but difficult to attack. Finally, there are the warriors of the Kingdom of Iron. There are many warriors in the Kingdom of Iron, far more than the number of ninjas in a country. Even if the individual combat ability is not as good as that of the ninjas, they can easily form a human sea tactic and win with numbers. So for Sancho Hanzo, there is a high probability that he did not intend to completely invade the Iron Kingdom at first. Of course, it is also possible that during the process of invading the Iron Kingdom, Sancho Hanzo discovered that the Iron Kingdom is a tasteless and useless waste. But if the original purpose of Sancho Hanzo in the original work was to seek peace for the Kingdom of Rain through war, then it would obviously be much more reasonable. The purpose of fighting the Iron Kingdom was to deter some samurai who liked to rob the Iron Kingdom, so after seeing Mafune's character and strength, he felt that Mafune could restrain the Iron Kingdom's samurai. This provided young Mafune with great fame. This paved the way for Mafune to later become a general of the Iron Kingdom. I hit Sannin but didn't kill Sannin because I wanted to leave a semblance of a human relationship so that we could meet each other in the future. As for why he only declared war on Konoha and Tsunade when it was clear that the villages of the three kingdoms of earth, fire and wind were at war, maybe it was because Konoha was easier to talk to. Tsunade was better. In the end, only Earth Country was left out. Could it be that the Iwa ninja are not easy to offend but still unite? Regarding the above ideas, Naraku can only speculate. After all, war is complicated, and sometimes even the initiator of the war cannot always control the situation. Looking at the helpless Mafune, Naraku relieved his thoughts and said, I can help you, and even help the Iron Kingdom to resist the invasion of Sancho Hanzo. But what can you bring to me? Mafune also fell into deep thought. He didn't seem to have anything particularly good to offer Naraku. There are no special resources in the Iron Kingdom that can attract Naraku. After thinking for a long time, Mafune finally remembered the only thing he could offer. If Naraku-sama is willing to help me, help the Iron Country, I am willing to sacrifice my life. I am willing to do whatever Naraku-sama does. Naraku smiled at this time and said, okay, Mafune, you wait in the Uchiha clan's territory for a few days, and then I will give you a surprise. Naraku agreed to help Mafune mainly because he wanted to find an escape route for himself, even if this escape route may not be available, and the remote environment of the Iron Kingdom is suitable for him to hide and cause trouble. Mafune's character is worthy of recognition, and Naraku doesn't have to worry about helping a white-eyed wolf. Naraku didn't mindlessly obey the blacksmith's talent in using his weapons. It was conceivable that one day Danzo might bring Hatfu to kill Naraku. If one day Mafune can become a general of the Iron Kingdom, with the Iron Kingdom's integrated military and political system, it will be equivalent to taking control of a country. Naraku clearly understood that he would always be a stinky part-timer in Konoha. He must have his own territory, and that would be true entrepreneurship. Even if Naraku is asked to become Hokage, Naraku is not particularly willing, because the power of Konoha's Hokage is too small and there are too many restrictions. Each family in the village speaks for their own interests. If your interests are not in place, there will be people who want to torture you to death or work against you. Think about it, when Sarutobi Hiruzen died, no one came to save him. Instead of competing with these people, it is better to start from scratch. The Kingdom of Iron may be a suitable new starting point for Naraku. As for why Mafune was made to wait for a while, it was because Naraku was preparing to draw a lottery. Previously, Naoki used evil ghost haunting to earn Naraku a lot of reputation. Naraku came to the forging room and called the system to open the blacksmith panel. Byte, system membership level, Junior. Name, Uchiha Naraku. Blacksmith level, AA plus forging room bonus. Forged weapon bonuses, 1. Talent copy, 2. Undead Legion, 3. Weapon royalty. Blacksmith reputation, 15,761. Instructions for the lottery. You can use the reputation of the blacksmith to conduct a lottery. Every 10 points of reputation can be used to draw a lottery. In the lottery, you may obtain precious biological materials, rare metals, and out-of-print forging technology. Evaluation. Because we have our own exclusive forging site, our forging technology has been enhanced. If the conditions are met, you now have the ability to craft almost any A-level weapon. But to build S-class weapons, you still need to make new breakthroughs. Naraku looked at his reputation as a blacksmith and thought that if he drew them all, he could draw them 1,500 times. But Naraku planned to draw 1,000 times this time. After all, 1,000 times was just the guarantee. As a long-lost lottery, Naraku was fully prepared. He first went out to find Uchiha, who was practicing swordplay, went up and touched her head. Uchiha didn't resist, but just looked at Naraku with a little doubt. Mainly because Naraku remembered that he had seen it somewhere before, and touching the koi girl's head can make luck better. Naraku felt that Uchiha's luck was really good, otherwise how could he have met such a wise and powerful man and invested heavily in her? After touching his head, Naraku returned to the bedroom and ordered the system, start the lottery. Bite. 1 portion of golden baki cells, the raw material for making baki seeds. Platinum secret technique of haki seed creation, a secret technique that can create haki seeds. Haki seeds can be given to others, giving them the possibility of awakening armed color information color haki. The strength can continue to grow stronger after being tempered by the person who has been given it. Green 20 meters Poseidon corpses, 1100. The Poseidon in the pirate world is a very powerful creature and is a huge beast. Secret technique for making golden belt type imperial equipment, transformation into the King of Beasts Lion King. King of Beasts Lion King, a belt type imperial weapon that transforms oneself into a beast and dramatically improves physical abilities. The sense of smell, etc. is also strengthened and can search for enemies. The secret is, the lion never dies, which improves one's own resilience. Even if the hands and feet are cut off or the eyes are poked blind, they can stop bleeding and reattach themselves. Closing parenthesis. Blue Oliha Steel 122 copies. Blue 3 Common Dangerous Species. The secret technique of forging the golden winged imperial equipment, flying thousands of miles Mostma. 10,000 miles of flying Mostama, the imperial gear of wings, which allows the user to fly, and its feathers can shoot enemies. The secret skill is the Feather of God, which can bounce the opponent's flying props back. The Mostama is the fallen angels in the Old Testament apocryphal book Euphrates. Golden Special Dangerous Species. Immortal Lion King Live. Special Dangerous Species. The Immortal Lion King. The Immortal Lion is a dangerous species with terrifying power and vitality, and the Immortal Lion King is the best among them. It has a physique that can crush other immortal lions. It can also unlock resilience greatly increased immortality. Platinum Super Dangerous Species. Black Dragon. Black Dragon. An extremely terrifying and super dangerous species of dragon. Its body is huge, as majestic as a hill, and its body is covered with a layer of hard and pitch black scales. Its wings are wide and powerful, allowing it to soar easily across the sky. The black dragon has extremely tenacious vitality and can recover quickly even if it is seriously injured. Its character is extremely cruel, and once provoked, it will launch a ruthless attack. The black dragon can emit powerful explosive rays from its mouth. This ray has huge destructive power and lethality, enough to destroy all enemies standing in front of it. It is the biological material of the Protector Machine God Supreme Throne. Closing parenthesis. Gold Special Danger Species. Feathered Beast. Feather Beast. A dangerous species of bird with beautiful wings. Its wings are four-winged, and its white feathers are like snowflakes. When flying in the air, it looks like a blooming flower, which is beautiful. They live on top of mountains or in deep valleys and are the darlings of the sky. This dangerous species not only possesses great strength and speed, but can also use its feathers to shoot enemies. At the same time, the feathered beast also likes to kill its prey, especially humans. Golden Demon Sword Seizing Ghost Forging Secret Technique. This is a mysterious forging secret technique originating from the world of Inuyasha. It requires collecting the ghastly broken swords and Dragon Man scales on the battlefield as materials, and then using them to cast them. A demonic sword that can absorb the opponent's power, Ghost Snatcher. In order for this demon sword to exert its true power, it is necessary to kill the dragon people and seize their power to complete the final forging step. This demon sword has a unique ability, that is, it can continuously absorb power from the enemy and become stronger with it. However, at the same time, the power of this demon sword will gradually erode the body and mind of its owner. If you cannot control this powerful power, you will be controlled by the sword and become its slave. What's even more frightening is that if you encounter an enemy whose strength far exceeds your own, this demon sword will transfer the damage from the enemy to the owner when the owner is unable to resist the opponent's attack. Gold Dragon Man Live. Dragon. A kind of monster with great strength and superb fighting skills. Their body is covered with hard dragon scales. These scales not only have excellent magic resistance, but also provide a certain degree of physical defense. The dragon's weapon is usually a sharp sword or a battle axe, and their most unique equipment is a shield called the Dragon Scale Shield. This shield is made of ordinary dragon scales, which can absorb the demonic power released by the enemy and convert it into its own energy reserves. However, the Dragon Scale Shield is not invincible, it has capacity limitations. When the shield starts to glow red, it means the upper limit has been reached, and this is the best time to counterattack. The natal scales possessed by dragon people are excellent materials for making demon swords. Secret method of making golden resurrection cocoon. Resurrection cocoon. A one-time prop. When the user dies, the user's soul will be transferred to a pre-arranged resurrection cocoon. The resurrection cocoon has the ability to integrate with the environment and is extremely difficult to destroy. But it needs to be accompanied after 2 to 5 years of dormancy, the user will wake up again. Golden rotary insect. The main material for the production of resurrection cocoons. After finishing the lottery, Naraku showed a satisfied smile. What makes Naraku the happiest this time is that he pulled out the secret method of making a resurrection cocoon, which also means that his life-saving ability is stronger. But the more disgusting thing is that resurrecting the cocoon requires a certain amount of sleep time, which means that Naraku needs to find an absolute safe house and even a qualified tomb keeper. But he was also worried that he was superfluous and that his resurrection cocoon would be like a stone in the ground and would be difficult to destroy. It will be exposed if someone looks at it. As long as he buries the resurrection cocoon deeper, no one should dig it out and bombard it with tailed beast jade or attack with truth-seeking ball. The second thing is that he finally gathered all the materials for the protector of the machine god Supreme Throne, which also means that he can try to forge this S-class imperial weapon later. However, there is still a long-standing problem, which is that the super dangerous species is really not something that Naraku can easily solve now. Look at the description of the black dragon. It has a body like a mountain and can spit out powerful explosive rays. Naraku even suspected that the strength of this thing could directly rival Nine Tails, and could once again compete with Eight Tails Gyuki. However, Naraku suddenly thought about whether he could borrow sealing techniques to deal with this super dangerous species, and he planned to make a better plan later. After that, Naraku, the 10,000 miles flying Mostma, could be used by himself, so that he would have the ability to fly. And Naraku, the king of beasts Lion King, kind of wants to give Tsunade a try. After all, Tsunade is also a big sister. It would be nice if you add ears and a tail. Naraku stressed in his mind that this is not for tails and ears. It is mainly for honoring the teacher and at the same time honoring himself. The subsequent task of seizing ghosts with the demon sword was a bit troublesome for Naraku, because he needed to collect the broken knives, and Naraku was ready to hand over this task to Mafune. It was forged later, and Naraku is not sure who to give this thing to now. The last domineering seed allowed Naraku to see new possibilities, and it was foreseeable that as the domineering seed spread, rewards are also constantly given to Naraku's body, so Naraku can become a saint physically without exercising his domineering energy. However, a bunch of samurai from the Kingdom of Iron like to temper their bodies but don't like ninjutsu. The total number of samurai from the Kingdom of Iron may be more than the total number of ninjas in the entire ninja world. That is simply his blue ocean. I just don't know how many copies of Haki seeds can be produced from one Haki cell, and whether the Haki seeds can only awaken one Haki. This requires Naraku to make a new attempt. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.